Okay. Let's listen to myself. Okay. Let's listen to myself. And now you talk.
Now I talk.
Oh yeah. And
Now I talk. Now I talk. You
Okay.
talk, I talk, we talk. Now
Perfect, perfect, perfect. These are good levels. Hello, people.
You talk, I talk, we talk. Now
Perfect, perfect, perfect.
Hello, everybody. Hey, hey, people.
Doc here. Yeah, we are once again back with a nice Sunday stream, Drake and I, and we are going to talk about D&D again, or rather about role-playing games in general today. Yeah. Firstly, welcome to Twitter, because you have just made your account.
I know. I'm such a boomer about it.
Yeah, I mean, you're a boomer in the sense that you have one.
I thought that was Facebook. I have one of those too. Ah!
Okay, that's a real boomer move. I don't have Facebook. You will have to excuse me by you talk.
I love that between two ferns picture.
Yeah, I put lots of effort into that, as I usually do with those. I'm a little low energy today on account of yesterday being 7 or 8 hours of streaming and then a little sleep. But hey, I'm here for it, and I can talk D&D stuff even if I'm, on low energy. I shouldn't
What's out of your mind?
I shouldn't do my Twitter stuff right now, because we might see my timeline, which we don't want to. Close, please, browser.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, last we talked about it off stream, Drake and I, and we thought today it would be a good idea to talk to. Whoa! Oh no! It also look. It's the endless tunnel. We have the endless tunnel. That is not what I wanted. Fucking hell. Okay.
Danger Zone starts playing. Hey, Daisy.
Hey, Daisy. Hi. Welcome. Fuck, this completely put me out. So, how do I get? Okay. Give me a sec. So now we have an empty browser. Great, in case we need it.
Take all the sex you need.
And I have the stream again. Okay, cool. Okay. Like I said, Trick and I talked about it off stream, what we should do for this week. Last week we did all those tier lists, which was quite fun.
Yep, there was a lot of crying.
And yeah, a lot of crying and a lot of opinions. What the good kind. It's not Interstellar, it's a Gold Experience Requiem. Interstellar. Yeah. Nice. And we decided today we would talk about how would you be, yes, you, right there on screen, how you can be a good player and in any role-playing game. And also, I guess conversely, how you could be a good DM as well if you put your mind to it. With, of course, the caveat that neither is for everyone. There's a chance it's just not your hobby, but hey, it might well be. I've very few people I've known have not found any connection to it. Yeah, and so, yeah. What would you say to start us off on this track?
About what it means to be a good DM.
Good player or DM, yeah, we can do either.
Oh yeah. Well, usually I start with DM, just because it's a more complicated topic. But usually, what it takes to be a good DM is adaptability. Like that's the number one thing I've noticed is just being willing to improvise all the time.
Yeah.
If an encounter is too hard, throw another ogre in there. He was asleep in the back room and he woke up and he ran out.
I hope you meant too easy and not too hard.
Oh yeah, I meant too easy.
The encounter is too hard. Time to make it harder. Yeah, I mean,
yes, there could be that kind of DM too.
Yeah, that kind of DM, by the way, not a good kind of DM. Not usually.
It depends anyway. If they're just like, this is challenging and fun. Well, let's make it even more fun.
Yeah, true. That depends quite a bit. Yeah, I should post this.
Adaptability is the number one, because like, if you're an adaptable DM, there's nothing you can't do. There's really nothing you can't do. Whereas other kinds of DMs I've noticed like that are a little more calcified in what they do and what they think that their adventure should be, if they want to railroad a story, etc. That kind of thing is just a little too, I don't know. It just doesn't roll as well. I think I always visualize role play as more like improv. There are a lot of
Yeah.
people that
Super true.
follow that, but there are some people who are just there to, I want to go fight some orcs, and
Yeah.
that's cool, but that's not my style.
That's, I mean, I would never say any style is invalid per se.
Yeah.
But I agree that's also not my style to just be like, yeah, I want to the one. Let's get the loot. Let's kill the orcs. Let's not think. Let's just and murder some I don't know, make believe people.
hmm
Um, I used to be like that when I was younger. I will say that's how I started
Oh
out.
yeah.
We were such munchkins back in the day, because
Oh
if
yes.
you tell a 13-year-old, hey, you can get this thing called experience points if you kill this monster, then guess what? They're gonna try. They're gonna try to get those experience points because they are points. They can get
hmm
more points, and that's great. Yeah, but that's also why these days I think most people on our side of the fence there play with milestone experience anyway. Because you don't want to encourage the fighting if you don't have to. It's enough
Yeah,
fighting
like
anyway.
accomplishing goals is way more interesting anyway.
Yeah, that is so true.
hmm
And generally speaking, just to put that thought out there in everyone's brain hole, is what are stats in D&D? To me, it's you said D&D or any role playing game. Really, I'm gonna keep saying D&D just because it's the common term, kind of.
Yeah, it's the baseline.
Yeah, they're gonna lose their what do you call it, their property at some point because everyone just calls it D&D. But anyway, the stats are, if you are imagine normal improv. In improv, you sometimes get handed a weird prop like, you have this long tube. Now do 5 minutes about the long tube and how great it is. That's improv. And the long tube in role playing game, that's your character sheet, because it tells you your guy's strong. You guys dexterous. You guys not charismatic or smart. So maybe you play him like that. So good to have fun.
Yeah, I mean, D&D is just the long tube unrolled. That's all it is.
Yeah, indeed.
That's a little too perfect of analogy now. You're gonna have to use that every time.
Yeah. Imagine if you unroll the long tube and it's actually just paper and there's writing on it. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'm Gorefist Bashface.
Yeah, Golf. Oh, that's. How do you know my old orc character from my war
From your younger
times?
years.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah, that's and I would agree. Of course, adaptability really matters, because a lot of DMs, they totally over prepare as well. They they come up with 20 different paths the story might go. If they refuse the mission from the Baron, they can instead, I will approach them in this way and they will go on that adventure and so on and so on. What they really should have done is find a way to interest the party in the adventure they have written, instead of writing up to, I don't know, 5 or 6 different ones. Because of obviously, okay, you might be able to reuse them at some point, but anything you write that you don't use, that's useless time in the first place.
Exactly. Like, all the players at the table, they got to make their characters compelling. So, the DM has to make whatever it is they're doing compelling too. A lot of DMs think, well, I'm the DM, I can just show up. No, you don't. You can't just show up, man. You got to make everybody interested in what's going on.
Exactly. That's, yeah. Oh, Fetish Studio, thank you very much. I hope your day is great too. I actually know it is because we talked earlier. So,
oh yes.
Good luck with your art. I know you're doing art today, and yeah.
Ooh, art.
Yeah, he is. FS is quite the good artist. There's stuff brewing in the background for me, which we won't show on Twitter because spicy. But hey, anyway, to get back on topic, I I would almost say that the make it interesting part is almost the most important thing everyone at the table has to do.
Hmm.
Um, and in a lot of sense, you create the interest not in your own character, but you should be interested in other characters at the table or at the story the DM is presenting.
Yeah.
If you at all can. If the story is literally the orcs are attacking, please defend the town. You can get into that, I guess. You can get into that maybe 5 times if the next adventure is, I don't know, hobgoblins are attacking the town, and so on. At some point, it's going to go stale. But if the DM varies that up a bit, it's your job as the player to be invested.
Yes, and like you can do the thing that so many people go and do when they audition for a part. You can just literally just stand there and go, "What's my motivation?"
Correct.
And then you can come up with something really quickly if you just use that phrase. And so many players I've known have just been like, I don't know what to do with my character. I don't know. Just think, what's my motivation? Just start there.
Right. And if
I'm a cleric trying to spread the good word of Helm.
Yeah, and if you can't come up with one, that's especially if you're kind of new to D&D or to role playing. It might be that you just don't know because you lack context or you lack ideas. Then you talk to your DM and they can actually make it up for you or help you make it up. It shouldn't be totally their stuff. But yeah, that's also the DM's job, for sure. What did I want to say?
And then also your other players at your table, especially with more later editions of games like 5th edition Vampire really focuses on this. Building not just your character, but your character as a character in the world or as a character within a group of people.
Yep.
And the potential for that, for motivation and so on, because then you can have 3 people who are all highly motivated for something. And then the 4th guy, he probably still hasn't found his motivation yet, but he might be able to find it through the other 3 people.
Indeed, yeah.
Because they've been focused on it, especially on session 0.
Yes. By the way, thank you, Azure, for the resub, and glad to have you here. We are gonna be big nerds today, like we like to be. Yes, as you know. Yeah. Okay. Session 0, you can touch on that in a bit, but I want to stay a bit more generic right now, maybe.
Yep. Stay generic. Yep.
Yeah. Your. How would you? No, wait. Yeah. How would you say structure your game in to make it interesting? How would you create interest, especially if a new player is there, maybe doesn't really know what they're doing? How do you get them in? What's your idea there as the DM?
Well, the first thing I do, since I'm a very setting focused person, I always act like the setting is another character in the room. Since I'm so focused on that, usually I show them, hey, look at this cool world that your character can be a part of. That's usually where I start. And if it's a situation where the setting isn't set yet, so I can't really do that yet, usually I start with, what movies have you seen? What books have you read? Like what characters have you seen in all of that? Like if I'm talking like super new, like even new to role playing, I usually start there because all those bases for inspiration feed into a person whether or not they know it or are cognizant of it. And like there's one guy who I knew who just he liked Dungeons and Dragons, he liked role playing, he liked tabletop, but he didn't really get fully into it until he played StarCraft. And then from that point on, whenever he did Shadowrun or like a modern or a postmodern game of some kind, he always wanted to play something like a Ghost. And those touchstones, I love that word, touchstones are an essential part of drawing people in. And sometimes it's the setting, but usually I start with that. But most of the time it ends up being that, what movies, what books, etc. There's another guy I knew who really, really, really wanted to be John McClane. So I was like, okay, let's go with that. You're estranged from your wife and you're barefoot. Let's go from here, you know?
Perfect. Yeah, I would agree for one. Fetish Studio, yeah. StarCraft 1, And Brood War, that's probably my favorite game of all time. Brood War specifically.
Oh
Great
yeah,
story, great game. Yeah, for sure.
amazing story.
Yeah, and I agree. If you, as the player or DM, are super concerned about, oh, I have to make this original, stop and think.
Oh,
How
stop.
the good stories, how original are they really? Let's just do a few big ones. How original is Star Wars really? What except if you take out laser swords, how original is that story then? Big bad empire
Not
fighting
very.
the underdog, and the hero has to save everyone. It's super generic. Everything is generic. It's the details matter. The details make it interesting. So you shouldn't be worried about wanting to play a character like a Ghost from StarCraft or John McClane. You should worry about maybe not calling your character John McClane and maybe having some other shtick than John McClane, but being essentially them, that works. You can totally imagine, okay, what would John McClane do in this adventure where we have to, I don't know, infiltrate this corporate base in Shadowrun? And how would he go about that? Yeah, maybe. I mean, he would totally insult the guard if he could, right? Yeah, he would, because they are the enemy right now, so on, so on, so on. And that's how you think about it. And it doesn't matter that the concept is stolen. The concept is easy. Oh, Foxabones, welcome.
Welcome.
Okay, let me read that. Let me read both those things. And Grey Assassin as well, welcome. Yes, the non-binary vampire meets the other non-binary 9-foot-tall vampire. Interesting, isn't it?
Such meeting.
And yeah, Azure, I agree. From a writing standpoint, everything has been done. If you boil it down enough, there's, I think, 5 or 7 stories you can tell. That's, of course, that's super theoretical. If you really file everything down to the barest essentials, then that's kind of true. But we all know it's not really the case. And now Foxabones. And this thing made our room very hard, really well. Would all watch one movie and then a week later someone would want to start a new campaign suspiciously similar to it. So we all always understood that the DM was going for. Yeah, that's actually really good. You can, if you can do that for session 0, for example, be like, here, we are playing Cyberpunk 2020. Let's watch Ghost in the Shell, and then we make characters. Because that's the kind of game I want to run. I want us to be the special forces unit. So watch this, get inspired, and come back to me with some ideas. Yeah.
We did that once, except with the movie Kung Pao.
Oh yeah.
It was a very, very silly
oh god, that's
martial arts game.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to be in that. I want to run that in Feng Shui.
Yeah. Oh man, that'd be fun. Someday we'll do we'll walk down that road, because I really want to play that game just to see how it plays, even.
Yeah.
Because it's that different.
And that leads me to the next thing you can be a good DM with. If you know your players, if you have played with them for a while and they know how they work, for example, yeah, then you can tell a story tailored to them and their likes instead of telling a story they like because they've already kind of seen it, you know.
Yes.
As an example, I know one player at my home table who likes to play the righteous fanatic type if they can get away with it.
Nice.
So I know, and if I put any demon stuff in my campaign, they're gonna be all over that, and they're gonna love it. They're gonna love smiting the evil. And so if that player comes with that kind of character, that's just something I include for them because it's good, and everyone at the table kind of knows it's for them, and they go along with it. And then you have like 25% of your game devoted to their story with the demons. And it's not even necessarily that they came to me and wanted this story. It's just I present them with this, and it's kind of like what was the movie again? Shit. Where the trucker is in Little China.
Oh, Big Trouble in Little China.
Thank you, Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, that's a great one.
They just happen upon the plot, and then they love it and go along. I mean, even if in character they complain a lot, I know out of character the player's loving it. And that's the meta level you want to be at, where the player in character can be like, oh my god, this is so terrible, I hate it, I hate it. And you can see the grin on the player's face at the table at the same time.
And whenever you mention that particular movie, especially, people immediately grin somewhere.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
always.
it's so good.
Because it's one of those evocative ones.
Yeah.
Because that's why I brought up the Die Hard example too, because there's always somebody out there who wants to play the gritty cop or the gritty guy who's having trouble with his personal life, who is going to go on an adventure.
Indeed. Ruka, welcome. So let's read back to chat, because chat is quite active.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, if Drake's been beating you over that with it, it's probably because Drake is good at DMing. Have an experience in the world and try to see if we can get them to work together. Yeah, Azure, I agree. You should take your own experiences into account. One of the best Shadowruns I've ever run was a Shadowrun which infiltrated the company I was working at the time. Because I knew I just essentially I upgraded the security for 2070, and then I let my players loose. And it was great because I actually used official maps from the company, the CAD server and so on. That was really funny. I probably it's a good thing that company doesn't know me who I'm talking about right now. But hey, it was a great run. Oh no, a bot was bonked. That's fine. No one important was bonked. But by the way, people, please don't post links in chat, because the bot doesn't like you doing that. If you want to post links, put them on Discord and tell me. And now let's read more. Can I just say how much I appreciate Drake's PNG's enormous being? Yeah, it's Doggo Mom, of course. I had to make her big.
Yeah.
She's sitting down too. I'm standing up behind the desk is higher than usual. You know how it is. And thank you, Archwist, for the squats. I love you for that today after I drank yesterday. And now fuck you for the squats, because I don't want to do 20. But okay, fine. Well, you should have known. Why don't you follow me every day? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Oof, okay.
Perfection.
And thank you for the blood donation, Azure. I need that now.
Good form.
Oh yeah, perfect.
And I will be randomly posting memes to Twitter during this. I will link them as I post them in the chat. Not in this chat, but in Discord.
I can have your Twitter open. As long as you keep it safe for work.
Oh yeah. Everything I post on my Twitter, I will be keeping safe for work.
Oh. What was it again? TR4? Yeah, there it is. Awesome. Give me just a sec. I need to open my window.
Your avatar looks like you run around the room.
Okay, and back. Gray Assassin,
Welcome back.
There's a total limit on those, but I didn't put a time limit in. If too many get redeemed, I just do a pause in between. Because you aren't supposed to do 60 at once.
Oh no, don't do 60 at once. Spread it out.
Anyway,
that should be your philosophy.
You talk for a moment. I'm a bit...
Yep. Oh, you're a little winded.
And
hello,
Moss
Snaps VT.
Welcome. Hi.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
I had a big,
Yeah, I'll be posting memes.
I had a
I'll be
big and
posting memes.
somewhat late lunch, so this is not great right now. But hey,
Oh, I had a pretty late breakfast. So. The joy of time zones. But yeah. I have been Twittered. Oh, that's a great way to put it.
yeah, you are famous now.
Not quite as famous as some, but famous enough. But yeah, that's going to be my primary thing because it's like I don't know. Ever since you first met me, you've always noticed that I'm pretty quick on the memes. So
Yeah, you are a real meme lord, and I love you for that.
well, I love you too.
If you're not famous now, you will be one day.
Oh yes, famous and for being ridiculous.
So where were we exactly? I forgot.
We were talking about DMs being good players.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Wow.
that's the topic. I think I talked
We're
about.
both a little spacey today.
I talked about my own table. Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah, you did. Yeah.
So how do you actually do that? I mean, we said don't over prepare. How do you do that?
The way that I don't over prepare is that I have things that are like kind of like floating events, floating ideas, floating dungeons that are things that you can just drop in at any time. So like, okay, everybody's kind of getting bored with this scene. Abruptly, an orc comes in, grabbing his chest and falls over dead, and he has a note pinned to his back. Like that could happen at any time. It doesn't have to happen then, but that's like one perfect example because that's dramatic movie moment.
Yeah.
And there's so many vignettes from movies, especially action movies. They're really bad about this actually, where okay, we had a quiet moment, action, action, action. A lot of those action, action, action moments, they don't even need to be there, but they make great filler. So
Yeah,
sometimes filler happens, and then sometimes they're good segues.
That is very true, yeah. Kind of why overland travel is so boring often.
Oh yeah.
If you're like, yeah, let's go on an adventure. Let's go to the dungeon. Oh, it's 4 days. Well, let's get out the table and let's roll on it 12 times to see how many encounters there are. And it's usually going to be 12 because the tables don't really have a nothing happens section. And if you're gonna have 12 fights or 12 encounters on your way to the dungeon, and then have a bunch more fights in the dungeon, that's kind of bad pacing, you know?
Yeah.
And even the most tone deaf DM will eventually sit there and be like, I wrote bears again. I can't do bears a third time. I'm just gonna not do any more encounters and just gonna get to the fucking dungeon.
Yeah, you're like, if you're gonna do bears a third time, you really need to change it up. Oh no, there's bears with rocket launchers. You know, something.
No, I thought they were commanded by a woman with golden hair.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I mean,
that'd be perfect.
Yeah, that's always ways to make it the encounter interesting. But as in from a standpoint of just, you know, telling a compelling story, you have to mix it up a fair bit. Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah. And with crafting story, like I think in terms of beats, like okay, this is gonna happen. They might not even be there to witness it, so kind of got to just put in the beat anyway somewhere, and it might be in passing. It might not be. I don't. Sometimes the players are actually going to a place where they should be going, but at the same time, it's away from your story. But that's fine. Like that's perfect. I like that. I love having player agency. I love choices and consequences.
Yes, that's one of the things I like that you do in your game. Is at the end of each session we usually get a meanwhile section where you just tell us, and meanwhile over there in other country, X, Y, and Z are having a talk about, well, something that might concern you. Maybe you don't know why yet, but no, it turns out they're coming over now. They're coming to the island. So how will this change the story? And it's of course something we in character don't even know.
But, yeah, like what was it, 12, 14 sessions ago? You got a first glimpse of the faceless woman.
Yeah.
I forget how to pronounce her name. and then you finally got an image of her face, like the
Mhm.
last session. So, perfect example of doing that.
And she,
Foreshadowing you can do without actually showing the players. You can do it without being like Chekhov's gun about it.
yeah,
You can do it in a more of a meanwhile, yeah,
and
sort of way.
and this is what she did to the poor guy.
Mhm.
She took his face
Yep,
off, you know,
completely off.
and that was how the session ended on memes as usual. But anyway, and also hi Chief, welcome. Yeah, Face Off is a classic, so bad it's a good movie. I love Face Off. Face Off is amazing.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, I would also. I would.
Immediately.
Were you here for the other squads, Chief? I have to know. Please tell me before I do them.
Oh shit.
I'm
Right
gonna
away.
I'm gonna kill your character on Wednesday. Oh yeah, I believe you immediately, you fucking troll. And yeah, just a second.
I had no idea. Gosh.
Gosh golly gee, however, what did I do wrong?
Work those
1,
glutes.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now any other ones that you redeem, guys, are gonna come in, I don't know, an hour or so. Because I do need my pause. Here. I mean, to be fair, yeah, for the talk show, please don't gag me. That would be very annoying.
A talk show, not a show.
Okay. As I said, the next ones are going to be done in an hour. I'm going to do an alarm for them, but they are not going to be done now. Okay.
Okay.
What was my next kind of question?
All right. I'm gonna meme this one too.
20. Okay. Yeah, an hour. Perfect. Yeah.
Perfect.
I can't kill your character because we're not currently in the game together. Anyway. The most important thing I think a player should have in terms of what they need to bring to the table is the willingness and ability to say yes to anything the GM throws out. If your character is the brooding loner who really doesn't want to be there and doesn't want to participate really, you know, that's cool. That's a character we all made once when we were young. I can't. Self-spanking is boring, Chief. I won't do that.
Yeah. I'm not in the same room streaming with them, so I can't really do that.
Right. If that were the case, we could talk about it.
I do got a firm right hand, though.
So my point there is as follows: if the DM is like, hey, you, the Baron has just told you that, I don't know, the old ruins there's a cult there. And if my character might be a fucking bard and he just wants to, I don't know, go to the tavern. But I will try to find a reason why I should care. And that might mean making up a backstory on the fly about my aunt being in a cult once and it being a bad time for her. And I loved my aunt, but she sadly died, and so I want to prevent that for other people. So I'm going. And you might say, but that's not my backstory, and that's not what I thought of my character. But help the DM out. It's fine. And if they offer a reward, maybe the reward is good enough for you. That can be enough.
Yeah, but it's like the standard mercenary thing works really well for a lot of campaigns. Not all of them, obviously, but I'm going to go get a reward.
Yeah, that's a fine one to play, but it's gonna get boring eventually.
Yep.
And then you should really just be, make up your own story and invest it into whatever story is being told.
Yeah, like doesn't even matter like the details of the character that I'm playing in your game right now, because she's so goddamn self-righteous to the point
Yeah.
where she's like, well, I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna do good things. There's so many people that like they can't even get to that point with characterization, and I understand that, and they need like a lot of deep set motivations.
Yeah.
But I've done so much with just generic motivations, like in the other game that we played together, where I just played a ranger. Oh well, saving lives.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
is that simple.
And Azure, yeah, I mean, absolutely. If you can work
Yes.
with your DM to make your story more involved and weave it in with the plot they are doing, perfect.
Mhm.
But if your
Yeah.
DM maybe is new or something and didn't think about it, which can happen very easily, then it's kind of your job as the player to just help them with it.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, when you think of it as shared storytelling, it gets better.
yeah. And if the DM isn't totally garbage at their job, they will not be like, "Oh, you made what up?" But that's not what I think happened. Your aunt didn't die. Then that's bad DMing right there. They should just be like, "Oh, is that the case?" Well, then, yeah, sure. So then you would know X, Y, and Z about this cult, maybe because maybe it's even related to your aunt's cult. Maybe that's the same people. Maybe the leaders fled and they are there now. And that's another thing to get to another player thing as well. Have you ever had the player who was like, my character wouldn't do that, but my character would do that?
Yes.
Yeah, that worst kind of player, right there.
I get it. Your character's an asshole. That's
Yeah.
fine. They don't need to be an asshole right this minute, though, to this other player. Like at some point, you do have to take that step back and be like, "But I'm doing this to my friend who's sitting to my right."
Correct. And yeah, Chief, that's also correct. The adversarial DM, that's kind of how we started a little bit with original D&D. That
Mhm.
was the wargame roots, and that had to grow up. But yeah, this is about storytelling, and it should be you telling, or the DM telling their story. And that story should be mostly about the characters doing stuff, and how the world reacts to that, and how on the the obstacles they have to face and stuff, and how to overcome.
It like at one point, this was even for the short arc that we were doing. At one point I was having such a reactive world to the point where I would make a fake newspaper front page
Oh yeah, that was so
and
good.
then post it for everybody. And that can be a lot of work, but at the same time, that can be really fun for not just immersion, but showing the players, hey, stuff's happening and you're a part of it.
Yeah, same exact thing as doing those asides. Yeah, just being like, oh yeah, by the way, here's the newspaper for this week.
Mhm.
While you are going to
Yeah.
resurrect the person, this is also happening. There's border conflicts and so on. Should you be worried
Oh,
that
yeah.
the current ruler is dead and in your basically in a sack that one of your characters is carrying on their backs? Maybe you should.
Exactly. Are we doing the right thing? Yeah, why not?
Yeah. And to get into why it's bad, by the way, because I feel like spelling it out is important. The defense of "but my character wouldn't do that" or "but my character would do that," it can be a valid defense if if you have made up a backstory and the DM really just forgot it. But normally, what Drake said applies. Normally, your character, you are being an asshole in that moment, and you are trying to maybe not directly fuck someone over, but maybe trying to gain some advantage. If the advantage may just be that you don't get killed right now, or you don't get attacked and someone else's or something. Let's not get too specific. But your character, if you set in stone what they are about, and then never change it, it's gonna be a bad time for the DM, because then they have no choice but to cater to that what you think your character is, or you are going to have a bad time when they don't do that. So instead, just be a bit flexible. And that doesn't mean you can't be, I don't know, you can't be the paladin that wants to smite evil. Just because the DM doesn't give you the right kind of evil to smite, because you really wanted to, kill whatever, devils. I mean, I don't know what your backstory is there, but maybe the setup of those bandits is for that. Maybe they are devil worshippers. You don't know. And if the DM tells you session 1, if you go to the north, there are devil worshippers there. That's a shitty story. You need to find that out over time. So just go with the story,
Yeah, and sometimes like if you get too set in stone, then your character literally is whatever 5 keywords you wrote on your sheet then.
Yeah.
Then they aren't actually a person. Like those are supposed to guide you, not hamstring you, not put you in a straitjacket. Like if you write on your sheet cheerful, well, okay, they're not obviously going to be cheerful 24/7, but they're going to have a cheerful demeanor.
Right.
Wouldn't say my character would never frown. What? No, then they're not a person anymore.
Yeah, they're just programmed to be cheerful. Yeah.
I am cheerful. Beep boop.
Yeah, indeed, we live and grow. And yeah, you can't.
Yes, they need to arc like lightning.
Yeah. Indeed, and that's the next thing. If you as the player have decided on your arc session 1 what your arc is gonna be, so I'm gonna reclaim the barony of my father that he lost to the evil other baron next in the next valley, and now they kicked me out, and that's my brooding backstory, and that's why I need money and fame and stuff to raise an army and go back there. That's cool. I like that story. It's not gonna win you, the biggest originality prize anywhere, but it's fine. It has worked in many cases. But if then a month in you kind of discover, okay, the DM is doing a completely different thing, and we're not going to get to my story at least for a long while, and then you start to rebel against what the DM is doing and try to push in another direction, that's bad. Let them get to your story in their own time. And maybe that Baron is, maybe it's possible that they didn't think about it yet because they have a game to run and they had an idea for an adventure they want to do, which they are currently on. And maybe they're trying to go to other people's stuff first or whatever. And then you find a reason why your character would be along for the ride. Maybe they have to lay low for a while because they are being hunted. Maybe you can actually tell your GM, okay, if we are not going to get to my stuff for a while, maybe at least throw in that at some time assassins come for me or something, so that we can establish something about my character, and then the other players know, because in character my guy wouldn't tell them that he's the prospective baron of that place. He needs to keep that secret. So in order to open up to them, I have to kind of be forced into telling them. So let's do that. And then your GM is, if the GM isn't garbage, he's going to be like, yeah, cool, yeah, let's do that. Sure.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And you're going along with the example that you just used, like, okay, I'm questing all over this place and we're not really getting to my story. Well, maybe you're going to be able to call in the favors of the villagers you saved 10 sessions ago to go and retake your barony. Or another one that's even more long-term, maybe you're in search of a lord who would be willing to give you his troops temporarily, but you have to marry his daughter. And that hasn't happened yet, but it could happen next session. Just the DM doesn't know it until you mention it.
Exactly, it is. We're getting to your question in a second, Azure. I like that question.
Good question.
It's a long-term thing, because your game, a good campaign isn't necessarily years long, but it's still going to take time. Even if you assume you make a level each session, it might be 15 sessions until we are high level enough to go face that Baron. And level a session for D&D is super quick pace. You're usually not going to get that. I mean, many people take Critical Role as their yardstick for how games should be run these days, and those campaigns last a few years, from what we've seen so far. And that's weekly play. That I would say is actually on the long side. I find it better to maybe go kind of in arcs and mix it up a bit now and again. But to each their own. Everything is valid there. Not to get to Azura's question. It's tricky, but I would not disallow that normally. Though at least in some cases when, I mean, I would like to maybe have an indication that it might happen as the DM. But that can usually be played out. If my group is kind of ambiguous in their morals and stuff, then it might well happen. For example, let me just really quickly, my home game I have thought of 4 possible endings for it. I'm not going to spoil my home game here, even if it's infinitesimally unlikely that any of my players listening in. But one of those endings is, the players side with the main the main villain that I have, that they know as an antagonist right now, right this moment, because their goals actually align with the goals the group might have. That's possible, and it's getting more likely as my group discovers what the other things that are going on in the world. Because I'm a very firm believer in putting many forces into a world, and then having those forces act out logically what they would be doing.
Yeah, like the campaign of mine that you're in, you guys can side with the bad guys anytime. I mean, it's one of those things. And the thing is since everything is kind of turned on their head, since it's a monster campaign and they're playing the monsters, the big thing about that is that monsters ally with other monsters. You could ally with the human and elven kingdoms against other monsters. Whatever. It's like I just play it like these are just nations in real life.
Yeah, indeed.
And okay, so the people of this nation happen to be trolls and ogres and orcs, and the people of this nation happen to be humans and elves and dwarves, and that's about it. I've actually had 3 different campaigns where they chose halfway through to side with the villain, and I think yes, all 3 of them were either cyberpunk-y, Shadowrun, or something in the future.
Yes, okay.
In all 3 cases.
We would have to see the final villain first in our game for me to say anything about that. But I think we have the main villain in our party. Who is not going to tolerate being second fiddle to anyone. So maybe it's not going to happen in that particular one. And Azure, I would agree. All of the Critical Role people knew each other. They were friends before they started playing. And they even started that game before intending to ever put it online, even if it's super successful now. So it was just their fun, their pastime. And that's rare. I have that I had that for a while with my home game.
Oh.
Which was a 7-year campaign, which was really awesome. And it was really just, and that was back in the uni days when we had fucking time. It would be more than 1 session a week, And the main thing, why it took 7 years, if you do more than a session a week, you're going to burn out, and then other people are going to have to DM for a while. So I would say in real session time, it was more like 4 years or something. But I'm very happy to say that campaign actually ran its course and concluded in a satisfying manner, and it was really cool. And where was I? I can't be specific. I actually don't want to be, because also the other players, they never okayed me talking about it, so I'm not gonna go into detail.
Yeah.
But essentially, the one pantheon of gods won out against another, and then both pantheons had to hash it out, and then the players were involved. That was the main plot there. Where was I? Oh, I'm gonna read Azure first. Can you define that quintessential experience for me, Azure, or can you do that, Drake? Because I'm not sure what it means.
like the definitive experience, this is the real Vampire the Masquerade experience, or this is the real Dungeons and Dragons experience.
Oh, okay. If it means that, then do you have to define for yourself what that means for you first? I would say, because
Yep.
you're not going to find two groups that share that essentially necessarily.
Like, with some games like Vampire the Masquerade, like, okay, modern gothic punk, away we go.
Yeah.
It's kind of easy. Shadowrun can also be really, really easy. Set it in Seattle, here we go, But Dungeons and Dragons, I've never had two similar experiences with Dungeons and Dragons. I just haven't.
Yeah, especially if you go to your own world and do your own world building and stuff, then yeah, things are going to be very different. Okay.
Like, part of the reason why I started running stuff in Eberron was I was actually demonstrating to another player of ours, Corey, that you can have a world that's robust enough where you can run a dozen different games in it, but they will all feel fresh because the world is actually that good or that robust of a setting.
Mhm.
And when you put that, not necessarily level of detail, but level of care into it, then you have infinite storytelling.
Oh yeah, that is very true. Yeah. And yeah, in terms of what you expect from your game, there's I don't know if people here know Arcadum, the other big D&D guy on Twitch. He kind of does it. He puts his campaigns on the scale and gives them percentages. Like this one has 20% exploration, 20% combat, 40% talking, and 20% other stuff. This one has these and these and these, and then he tells his, and then he would actually give the groups he's gonna run for this rundown and tell them a pitch of 2 sentences or something about the campaign, and then they pick one. And so they know what they're getting into in terms of, okay, this one is about we are evil and trying to assassinate the White Council. It was one I remember the most because that's how I found Arcadum back in the day. Or this one is, yeah, we're gonna have to help this other faction do stuff, whatever. It could be anything, but you choose your pitch and you choose your what it is going to be about in terms of content, and then there you go. And of course, if you watch Arcadum, his stuff is I wouldn't say it's, how would I put this? I like his stuff, but it's obviously kind of a bit made for streaming, I would say, because there's constantly something happening. There's really very little downtime to do, deviate too far from the main plot. But that's fine, as long as they make it interesting and the players are there. And I think streamers overall are very good at doing the yes and stuff, the improv. Then, then that works perfectly. And I would like to be in such games, yeah, for sure.
That's part of the reason why, like, LA by Night and other vampire live streams I've really liked, because they can actually show the downtime just enough to where they show how you can go all the way with it. Like, okay, how are you going to feed? And then you can go into detail. Or, okay, let's just roll dice and go from there.
Yeah,
It shows the slow and the fast versions of it. But yeah, Azure Butterfly, I totally get you there. Being part of a campaign actually reaches the end game, or completes the story arc. I get that. Like, the campaign that I'm running now with you, Nura, it could have just stopped at, okay, you found the big Cyclops city. Cool. The end.
Yeah.
You found exactly what you're looking for. Like, it could have stopped that way. That was technically the end of a story arc.
Yeah, it could, but it's cool if it doesn't,
Exactly.
The hard part about that is always going to be keeping the same group of players around for long enough to do the ending.
Yes.
And the longer you plan it out as the DM, the harder that's going to be, quite frankly. Those 4 years, I talked about 7 years rather, that's all college stuff, and even we were back in school, That's those times you just had time. And these days, I play with I play with some of those people still, but they are not in the same group because we can't find the same day to make it happen. It's just impossible. So I couldn't, if the game had been run like a year later, I wouldn't have been able to end it. That's as simple as this. So the way to, I would say, if you want to go to from beginning, middle, end, then it has to be, I would advise doing a bit of a quick pace one, where you expect to maybe take, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 sessions to be done with it. And yes, being adults does suck. I will agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You should return.
It, like, way back in the day when my wild youth, yeah, we do 11, 12, 14-hour sessions, and we do that all the time.
Oh yeah.
Because we had the endurance for it too.
Oh yeah.
And now it's just like I plan for 3 to 5 hours every time now.
Yeah, that hones that the skills you hone. You and I probably honed in our childhood. Where it was like, yeah, let's go to Matthew's place and let's hang out. And what are we gonna do? This would be talk in school. Yeah, let's go to Matthew's place. Cool. Let's play D&D. Who's gonna DM? Oh, I don't know. Let's figure it out over the day. And then somewhere in chemistry class, you just make up your adventure for the day, in case you have to run. And everyone does that, and you sit there and we have 3 adventures. Cool. Let's meet 3 times this week. Those were childhood rocks for that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's funny because all of that really helped me learn how to condense, because a lot of stuff would happen in a 12-hour session eventually. When we first started out, of course, almost nothing happened in 12 hours. We killed 5 orcs by the end of it. But like as I got older and I got more experience, eventually we were just like, okay, wow, we destabilized 3 countries in 12 hours.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, that's it's you have to find the right people. That is really the main thing. And Azure, I would say, anytime you look at big successful stuff like that, you are not seeing all the failure because all the failure didn't make it that far. Those people are very lucky, but if you know their stories and how they started out, they are voice actors, right? All of them.
All of them, yeah.
They have gone crawled through shit to get where they are. It's quite amazing. And there's sadly very many other people who just gave up. Someone was gonna be a big streamer. The question always is who isn't. And I think if you just have to keep at it, do your best, then at least have the chance. And as for to get back to this question of how do you get the game to actually conclude, find the right people, and then make the commitment. That's another thing everyone at the table has to be there for. It has to be important to you. I mean, that should be very obvious, but you will find with many people, they are going to be hyped to play D&D, but they are not going to be hyped to play D&D in 3 months as much, and then they might miss sessions. I'm not talking about real life intruding and I have a new job, I can't have night shift, I can't play this month, I can't play anymore. That sucks, but it happens, even if they are committed and want to play. But it's more a question of if you have a group that says, yeah, I'm hyped, let's play D&D. Start with one shots, see who is still hyped in the 3 months, and then decide if you want to do an arc. And if the arc works out, then decide if you want to go longer with it. Don't plan it to be an epic thing. Just don't.
Definitely not. Always, like, I have often framed it as a detective short story is the best place to start.
Yeah,
because that's 100 pages, nothing to it. You have a beginning, middle, and end. You don't go into this thinking, oh, I'm going to write Shakespeare. No, you have a beginning, middle, and end. That's it.
Indeed, yeah.
1, 2, 3. And the reason why I always go to detective stuff is because in everything that is detective, everything, TV shows, movies, books, comic books, whatever, there's always a problem. And it isn't necessarily a problem in the standard, okay, what are the 4 typical conflicts? Somebody got shot, somebody got kidnapped, something, or a lady walks into somebody's office and says, I need your help. and it is what it is. It's straightforward. It's in your face. It's, you're involving in something right away,
Yeah.
and that's why the Eberron setting, once again, I will always talk about how great it is. Was perfect because it was the first D&D setting that was just like, okay, you want to do detective stories? Here you go. Here's a whole city where that happens all the time.
Yeah, indeed.
Oh,
This
and
is
Shadowrun's good for that too.
Shadowrun is, I would say, if you can go over the hurdle of everyone learning the Shadowrun as a system, and that's very good for one shots for sure, because the game is designed around it. So this is the mission, because you're getting paid to steal this artwork from someone you don't even know. You're getting hired by the guy, but that's not the guy you're stealing it for. And then next week the mission is infiltrate over there and plant this device at in the server room. And next week then is the thing is steal this super old muscle car. No, you don't drive it, you idiots. Use the truck, put it in the truck. If you drive it, it's how value goes down, and so on and so on. That's all real adventures I played once.
Mm-hmm.
And the good thing with one shots in general, you don't have to run them in Shadowrun. It's just I've played a lot of Shadowrun. Good thing with one shots is everyone can DM, everyone can dip their toe into DMing. And if it doesn't work for them, they can stop. And if it works for them, they can do it more. And there's no expectation that they're going to have to do a big, long campaign of awesomeness. If your first adventure as a DM should really be simple. It should be a detective story or should be a straightforward story of some kind. And it's very more important, again, to involve your players in it on an emotional level than it is to be surprising or to be original or to be epic or anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How did I put it once? You're not there to peacock. You're there to involve everybody.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, of course, to get back to the DM, if you are DMing, give everyone a chance to shine. As that's something that's often said, but what does it really mean? To me, it's not essentially giving them a moment, because a moment is, it can be very fleeting. You can be like, yeah, okay, the thief is going to disarm the traps. That's going to be the thief thing. But that's fucking boring for the thief, if we're honest, right? I mean, oh, you rolled some dice. Maybe it worked. Maybe it didn't. And that's my moment. I don't want rolling dice to be my moment. Because, by the way, Ataraxian, welcome. Because
Welcome.
what I'm getting at is, okay, for some people, rolling the Epic 20 is cool and awesome, and that's can be enough for them, but you should not expect that for the player to be enough. There should be some story for them in there.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't necessarily mean here's your item, here's your +2 dagger of awesome, which gives you 2d6 extra backstab, and now you have that. Good luck. This is that's also, no, it has to be story. In my very first in that 4-year campaign I talked about, a 7-year campaign, whatever. The immediate
40-year campaign.
Yeah, the 40-year campaign. Yeah, it was quite bad. The immediate story was as follows. The rogue, Ray Rogue. There was just 2 players to start, so it was a rogue and a wizard, which is a great party for AD&D. You don't have to work much to make them feel threatened. Hey Rogue, you have tons of debt to the Thieves Guild, and hey Wizard, your what was it? The person you learned under, they have died, and now people have come and claimed your tower, and you were kicked out, and you also don't know where to go now. And now you both see that big paper in the city that says, "Hey, we need adventurers. Big payday if you come to us and help with an important mission." And you both think, okay, I am out of options. Let's do this. And that was enough. I mean, it was also, to give context for that campaign, it was literally, this is going to dox me a bit in terms of age. A lot of the Rings movies had just come into cinema. I was sitting in one of them with those 2 friends, and I was like, one of them were like, "Oh, I would love to be in the story," and I was like, "Okay, we can do that next week. Come to my place," because neither of them had played D&D before,
Mhm.
And I was like, I want to play D&D again because it was a bit of a dry spell after school at that moment, where I didn't, or rather, it's complicated, but let's just say I didn't play for a while. And
Mhm.
that was my chance to recruit 2 people to play. And then within 2 weeks, we had a third player because they were both so hyped that they talked it up. So we had a monk all of a sudden. And then the girlfriend of one of them wanted to play. And then I found another player. And then we were 5 players. Worked out.
Mm.
And yeah, Azure at some point. I wish they had invented this stuff sooner.
Oh yeah, I'm just imagining like a Ventru, a Nosferatu, a Malk, and a Bruja all sitting around a table, and it's just like everybody just wonders. All right, so like one of you is Sabat, 2 of you are Anarchs, the other one's a diehard Cammy.
Yeah.
Why are you all at the same table? Because we've been playing D&D for 100 years.
And you still order pizza. You just don't eat it. You eat the pizza delivery man.
Oh, I love it.
Of course, the Venture doesn't, but the others do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Venture would be the DM anyway. In that, or the Melk. The Melk would be a good DM. Anyway, enough nerding about that. Where were we? Oh, do you have something? I've talked a lot right now.
No, I put up 2 more tweets if
Oh.
you want a distraction for a second.
Sure.
I think you just need
Absolutely.
a refresh.
yeah, that's valid. And this, yeah, okay. Is this bigger? No, this is just this. This is one of the best memes ever. I want to know how. I never understood. I never knew what the context for this is, but it's so good.
It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. Yeah, I'll do more as we go.
Yeah, perfect. I love them. So, okay, let's talk about. You talked about not over preparing. That was a while ago.
Yeah.
You know, I can talk about how I tend to start a campaign if you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do that. How you start campaigns.
What I do is I make up one place to start. For example, let's just do it. Let's just do it live. Okay, there's a village in the hills somewhere, and there's lots of forest around. In brackets, because my first adventure takes place in the forest. And they, okay, then I ask me, okay, they have this village. It's not enough to just have the village. It has to make sense. So what does it do? Well, it would export wood, lumber industry. Makes sense. They're cutting wood, sending it downstream somehow, because otherwise you can't transport that stuff back in the day. So then downstream would be the big city. That's where the players maybe come from, because we don't really start in this small town. And then I have my setting. I have this small town. They are lumber town. Would have some farms and stuff, but it's mostly in lumber industry. It means that it's quite rough and tumble, but it's also kind of rich because, hey, this is a magical world. We can have magic trees that they cut. Maybe there's actually several wizards there that do that and work the wood and stuff, work the shaft until they have the perfect length and girth and stuff. You know what I mean? And then we have some flavor in our town, and that's my town. That's my setting. Now I'm basically done.
And you would call it Flavor Town because it's got some flavor.
Indeed, yeah. It could be called that. Could be called, I don't know, Eastwood, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's a hell of a town.
Yeah, the mayor is called Clint for some reason.
Yeah, exactly. He keeps talking to chairs, you know.
Yeah. And I don't know a shit thing about the rest of the world. Nothing. I know the big town is downriver. That's it. I have not made it up because for my current adventure, it doesn't fucking matter what's downriver and what is over there and what is behind the mountain range and whatnot. We are not going to be there Because especially for first adventure, it's very good to just start it off with a bang and just put the players in. That's the detective story Drake said. It would be like, yeah, you're in this town and you are immediately approached by the mayor to help because you guys you kind of just look like you can handle yourselves. And they don't have a long list of people who can do that here that aren't busy just defending people in the forest and so on. So plot is not happening. Congratulations. And then your players have to be there for it, which is why to tell your players, by the way, find a reason to want to work for money and then we are golden for the first adventure.
Yeah. And if people want to change that up, it's very easy. Say it's the sheriff instead, since we're going with the Eastwood theme.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I hear you out-towners got some unique skills. I'm going to have need of your skills. There you go. All done.
Indeed. Let me read that. Read some stuff because there's a lot of chat again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Ataraxing. That's exactly it, yeah. Okay, and Azure, gonna lurk. Have fun.
Take care, Azure.
I mean, okay, fun. Cleaning, good luck cleaning. I don't think it will be fun.
Yeah. Yes. You'll always be our butterfly.
Ataraxing, it's totally fine. You are not spamming. Just we can talk. We can have a conversation. It's perfectly good.
Okay, it's good.
And of course, you would tell the players, yeah, there's an archipelago. And you might be from different islands. Maybe even, you can't even, hey, if it's 100, make up your island. It's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Just tell me what generally it's going to be, and then we can put it in within reason, fitting into my story, of course. You should never be afraid as a DM to just change your world for the player's benefit. If it doesn't, if it doesn't totally break what you want to tell. And if it does, you should talk with the player anyway. Which kind of brings me to the next thing.
Yes.
A lot of groups have real trouble communicating with each other.
Oh, yeah.
And by that I don't mean you need to roll perception now to see if there's a hidden loot here. But I mean, if you as a player at the table have a problem with something that's happening, it is on you to tell everyone. And either immediately if it's a big problem, or later on, if you just want it to not happen again.
Yep.
And you have to work through that, out of character. Otherwise, it's going to be a bad time.
Yeah, like more and more, and this was shown in the live stream, Not a Drop to Drink, I think was the name of it. This philosophy of we're all here to tell a story together, yada yada, shared storytelling. But to go along with that, as part of that shared storytelling, if one person says, I really don't want this in my game, everybody else should be like, cool, let's just do it. They don't even need a reason, they don't need a reason. We just whatever it could be. Spiders is one that comes up a lot in a lot of my games.
Oh, yeah,
there are people who are really afraid of spiders, and they don't want spiders ever.
That is a simple one, yeah. But it could also be like themes and stuff you don't like. And yeah, Chief, I would agree for sure that online groups, especially ones that are freshly formed, have this problem a lot because you don't know the players. It is also more important that you set boundaries immediately and make sure you're on the same page about them. And
this goes back hand in hand with session 0. That's the best time.
Yeah, indeed. And in case people don't know what session 0 even is, because they are new to this hobby, what is session 0, Drake?
Session 0 is the session that happens before you do any actual role playing, any actual in-game stuff. It's when you usually design your characters together. It's when the DM lays out things that's what you're going to expect. Players say what their expectations are. It's almost like a jam session. It's almost like a planning session. But it's all the players and the DM working together to try to figure out, okay, so you're playing a bard, you're playing a paladin. well, okay, I'll play a cleric even though you're playing a paladin. That'll work great, won't it? Just basic stuff like that. And then the more advanced stuff of, hey, I don't like spiders. And then everybody around the table going, okay, yeah, all right, we won't have spiders. I was thinking of having a spider familiar, but I'll change that.
Chief, since I'm in that group, I can say you were lucky mostly, yes.
Yes,
For
yes.
two reasons. One, several of us are actually hyped to play. We have been doing it for some time. And the other people that we had, they were really quickly found out as being incompatible, let's just say. And we usually didn't have them around for very long, except for one. And I'm not gonna drag anyone through the mud here, even if I'm not gonna name names, but you have to gel as a party, you have to gel as people, otherwise it's not gonna be a good time.
Yep. 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 Absolutely agreed. And there's so many people that do things differently with session 0. Like they only want to focus on character creation. They only want to do this. But I think more and more the notion of what do we want to see? What do we want out of this is two questions that I think need
Yeah,
to be asked more and more.
good,
Because
good,
a
cool.
DM could sit down and be like, okay, I'm going to run this campaign. I'm going to do a huge dungeon delve. And then every single player is just like, but I want a city-based campaign. You need to modify slightly then. You need to. And then you can
Yeah,
put some of those dungeons in the city or something.
indeed.
And if you go into it, it it helps with really curbing expectations and then also broadening expectations too.
Right.
Really, really helps with that. But
I start to say, that anyone has to take the back foot in this and say, okay, no, I don't, my stuff that I want isn't going to happen. The trick is to find the common ground that we can all agree on.
yep.
So if two players are like, yeah, I want epic adventure, and two players are like, I want politics and I want to make lots of intrigue, then maybe that's a warning sign actually. But maybe you can make it work. Maybe there's epic adventure with politics. Just have to then figure out how to do that.
Yes.
And yeah, Chief, I just saved. Thank you very much.
Yep. Save all these tweets.
Oh, Archwith, that's interesting. Yeah.
That's a really good way to put it too, is just game dev team as well.
It depends, I would say. It depends what you want from it. If your goal is to play, I think that's a good one. If your goal is to play with a certain set of people, which is often the case in real life, where you're like, okay, Steve and Tom and I and whoever, we want to make a D&D group, then you have to hash it out and see what happens, because there's no way we're gonna let Elvin into the group. Elvin is an idiot. But yeah, if it's just okay, we're meeting weekly, and if you can't come this week, then that's fine. And then that's often how it crystallizes out that some people are just dedicated to it, and some people aren't that dedicated. And it's kind of good to run then a game at first that shows you who is dedicated. Then maybe you take those people and make another game. And I'm sorry for the people who weren't really into it and who only were there every other week. If it's due to real life reasons, like I just can't. I have late shift every other week. I can't be there, but I want to be there, and you know it because I'm hype every day. Then you can still come up with in game reason why their character is only there every other week. Just find a excuse basically. But yeah, I would say having a first adventure of series of adventures, again we said one shots, this helps you gauge who is in it for the long haul or would be in it, and then you do your actual game, basically. And yeah, session 0. Also to say that real quick, it doesn't mean it's one session and then you have to do the first session. It means you do that for as long as you need to do it. If it turns out that one session isn't enough, then you do more. You have to know these things before you commit to the game, or even before you commit preparing the game, actually. Because if you go, to be fair, if you go to the table, guys, I'm the DM this time, and I have an adventure for us. It's gonna be, it's basically gonna be a wilderness adventure, and you're gonna be in it for, I guess, 8 sessions, maybe. That's my estimate. And everyone's like, but I want city adventure. Then I'm sorry, guys. Then maybe you DM.
Yeah.
I had this cool idea for this adventure. It just happens to be in the wilderness. Please make up characters that work. And if you really can't, then that is kind of the that's a bad sign of that player, I would say.
Well, then also, like, you already set expectations right away. Like, okay, it was going to be 8 sessions. You can't handle 8 sessions in the wilderness?
Yeah.
What's up, dude? Are you okay? You know?
I mean, yeah, this is of course as an example that's a bit over the top. I don't think many people would be like, but if you tell the players, yeah, it's 8 sessions in the wilderness, maybe you play something that kind of works with that, and then they come with the city bard. There's 2 outcomes to this. Either they are going to play the screaming girl from Indie 2, who's just over her head and the player loves that, and everyone at the table is into it, or it's going to be a bad time for everyone, and you kind of have to know real fast which it is, because that's.
Oh, sorry.
You were saying something? Please do.
Oh, I was about to react to what Archwiz was saying.
Then do that.
Sorry to interrupt you. The old school hex crawl. Yeah, like 2 of the games I'm running right now have old school exploration going on through it. So yeah, like with the first half of the campaign with Nura was like that. For example.
Oh yeah, that was literally a giant map, and we were exploring it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God, I love doing that stuff. And the thing is just like it was Fallout 1 and Fallout 2 that made me really fall in love with that kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Because I remember the feeling when I very first played them both, and even later when I knew where everything was, it still had a lot of oh no, I ran across this group of gangsters, but they have this particular kind of gun that drops. This is going to be fun. You know, that happened in Fallout a lot.
Yeah, right.
And you know, there's just so much stuff that you can throw in there with hex exploration and crawling.
I don't watch many advice channels.
Yeah.
I guess I'm now my own advice channel, which is interesting. I think being too specific in any advice for D&D is gonna be problematic. Because of this reason, you can make overland travel interesting. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. But the trick to that isn't usually to find a way to make 15 encounters that you're doing interesting. That's not going to work very well. The best way I found is to give a ticking clock to the players. To be like, yeah, you have 2 weeks to get there, but it's 15 days travel. Have fun.
And then give interesting choices along the way, like, oh well, you found this thing that requires 3 days to harvest. Well, do you want to take the time to do that? Things like that being thrown in make it interesting too.
Yeah, and Ataraxian, yes, exactly. I have had so much fun in one game I was in where I played a rogue. Basically, it was not in D&D, but let's say it was a rogue who was pretending to be basically a trader. You know, I happen to sell these wares that I have with me. I don't have a card because I'm not that rich. But look at this, and I was selling obviously my stolen goods. So it was very random what I had. But the other players went with it and didn't question too much. And so my rogue ended up in some sort of plot with angels and stuff. It was totally in over their head, and I loved every second because that was a kind of game with very strong magic, and I specifically didn't have any magic. So I was, and I would just make myself useful in whatever way I could by stealing stuff and being underhanded and being very good at sneaking, and always happened to be there at the right moment, having the right item with me and so on. That was really cool, and that DM I would have to say was really good at giving me those moments as well. I was like, yeah, by the way, Nura, roll me a stealth and a thieving check, and I rolled those checks, and I was like, okay, you pass both. Yeah, you stole this and that from the castle as you were there. I mean, obviously, as they were led around the castle, you would pick up this and that and those items, and here you have this necklace and this and that and so on and so forth. And then we would leave the castle, and then all of a sudden, people, unknown thieves, were hunted because they stole this necklace, which was super important for the plot, but no one knew it. And that was really cool. Thinking on the fly, how do I involve the group in this? Yeah, they can just steal the stuff. That was really fun. And not to get too specific with things, thinking on your feet is super important. And to get to, we said this for Ranger last week.
Oh yeah.
And in regards to wilderness stuff, usually wilderness stuff is the obstacle to get to the adventure. It is not the adventure, and making it the adventure can be tricky. The best way I found is to make it either give the players a deadline and then put obstacles in the way, or to make it a sort of chase. Actually, I had that work very well. Long-term chase. And now I have to read again.
It's...
And altruist, yeah. Those kinds of moments are kind of awesome, yeah, for sure. If they are played right by the DM. I had once had a game where people, DM just had found the disease rules and played them to the book, and none of us were casters. And then we were in the swamp, and everyone was ill, and that was the adventure. That wasn't very fun.
A little Oregon Trail D&D.
Yeah, the problem was the point where no one could walk anymore. They were basically laying around hoping to roll good constitution saves.
The rogue has died of dysentery.
Yeah, it was literally a case of who has medicine skill? No one? Great. This is gonna be awesome. And that, yeah, we learned an important lesson that day as a group back then.
You all die of yellow fever at the end.
Yeah, that's literally the adventure. It started with one person having an infected wound, and then it escalated quickly.
Oh man. Oh, I can't remember which game it was. They were long while back. They had very realistic rules for taking wounds, and it was a medieval realism game. And I was like, I'm not going to play this. I don't want to roll to see if I die 3 weeks later from a small paper cut.
Is it was it Rollmaster? Rollmaster is.
I want to say it was Rollmaster, but I don't remember.
Rollmaster is the book of tables with a million tables for your weapons or what they do and hit and stuff. It's bad. It's really bad.
Yeah. It might have been a knockoff of Twilight 2000.
Okay.
Because I remember Twilight 2000 was really bad about realism too, like way too much. Basically, it was a game where unless you're a military veteran, you suck at everything. I was like, I kind of don't want to play this. I'd like to play a journalist or something.
I like games that tell about the author like that. Oh, the special forces rule, but everyone else is just kind of bad. Yeah, okay, I know who wrote this.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man. And then later editions of it were even worse because they had like checks to see if you panic and run away, and those checks were frequent throughout the game. So of course, who was good as that? The special forces guy.
Yeah.
Bad design.
As I said, we should read bad role-playing games on this show and talk or read them between shows and talk about it. Because
that would be fun.
Yeah, I have some in my back pocket for a rainy day. Excuse me while I do squats, by the way. I have to do 10.
Oh yeah, you still have to do 10, don't you? Time for some squats. Do. I should do a quick meme while you're doing that. Let's see here.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And Chief, thank you for the blood donation.
Good old Chief.
Yeah. It's an interesting sign if I see Chief Afro redeemed, and then I just think, oh no.
Oh no.
Okay. Do you have more? Do you want to talk about something specifically?
Well, I'm trying to think of something off the top of my head. We're covering a lot of good stuff actually so far.
No, Chief, of course you wouldn't. No, there's no way you would. Oh yeah, we
I
can
remember
actually.
we were.
Oh, you do it.
Oh, go ahead.
You go.
Oh, we were going to talk about what makes a good player. Like we haven't really touched on it that hard.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
again say the main thing you have to do is be there for whatever plot's going on. That's really my yardstick for a good player.
Get to know your character, and I don't mean that in the sense of you need to know everything about them. I mean, if you have an ability, at least know how to use it, or at least have it written down so you can reread it if you need to. Because the one guy who has only one ability, who constantly has to look it up every time, don't be that guy. Like it
okay.
isn't so much, oh God, you're holding us up. It's more like it really. If there's one way to show that you're really invested, it's, hey, I know what my character. It's one thing my character can do.
And yes, of course, I think we can all agree that having the biggest afro makes you the best player. That makes sense to me. Especially if there's a big comb stuck in it.
Exactly, a huge comb.
And Archwes, be nice, definitely. Don't be an asshole at the table to other players, especially not to other players. And importantly, if you want to be an asshole to other characters, be sure that the group agrees on and that they want to be assholes to each other sometimes. Because there's also very different levels of PvP that's allowed at tables.
Yeah.
I've been at every kind of table for that part. Be active, yes, for sure. Don't just sit there and listen. I mean, that's nice sometimes. But showing that you are in the story is cool and appreciated always. Even if it's just, my character currently can't really do much, but I'm gonna be there and look important. For example, that's something I've done a few times in the other game, Dragon Iron, where I just play the fight crazy barbarian who is currently in a political situation. So since they don't
a good example.
Since they don't want to be don't want to put other people in trouble that are in the party, I'm just like, I look menacing behind the other two who are doing the talking, just to lend some weight to their argument, because that's what my character would do. And then you have shown that you are there. As for take notes, I would say mostly yes. If you're playing the dumbest barbarian, don't take notes. That's also part of your character. You are allowed to forget. But for most normal people, yes, do take at least some notes, and even as that barbarian, take the notes that matter to your character actually.
Oh yeah. With some DMs like me, there will be a lot of NPCs and you won't remember all of them, and that's okay because the DM will have a handy dandy list somewhere. Like I'm really bad about that. I think I'm up to 200 plus NPCs just in an exploration game. So
we have found many of them.
I know. I recognize there's limits to taking notes.
If you can, take the notes in character. I have played a kobold before, and my notes were basically scrawled on an old piece of paper, and I would only use that one piece of paper, and they would only be single words and point arrows and stuff, and I would be able to make sense of them, but I don't think anyone else could.
That's funny. I like that a lot. I should probably do that for. Heck, I should do that for my paladin in your campaign.
It is because that's that's also a way to get in character, right? So if I write down, I don't know, XYZ dragon as my kobold, that means dragon just means important guy, because dragons are important, and that's the word I know. I don't know a lot of words to write down. I'm a fucking kobold. I'm not dumb, but I'm not learned either. And yeah, that makes sense to me. I can read that 6 months later, know what my character is, and know that that makes sense. What I wanted to convey to myself there. Okay. And yeah. Okay, let me look through these. I agree again with everyone here. Do know your abilities. I mean, it's not like as a wizard know every spell. That's asking a bit much, maybe. That's something for archwiz to do. But if you're playing a wizard and you have 20 spells, please know what they are and know what they do. And if you find 5 more, please take the time to read them and know what they do. And if you're not a wizard or some other class, know what your abilities are, know how to use them. And if you do have to look it up before your turn, before it's time for your combat turn.
And sometimes in the if you're doing an online game, you could even ask a DM between turns very easily. Shoot them a PM going, hey, would I be able to do this while another thing is being resolved? DMs can multitask really, really well in an online environment.
Very true, yeah.
So taking advantage of that is actually really smart, because then you'll have a brilliant idea and then you'll be able to put it into effect rather than just being reactive and looking at the board going, where am I? Who am I?
Yeah.
What does extra attack do?
Oh yeah.
Come on, man.
I have forgotten that I had extra attack before, because I just gotten level 5 and it was just like, yeah, I have two sword swings, right? One with main and one with offhand. Sounds right to me. And then I just beat myself up for it later. But yeah, I mean, it can happen to people who have played for many years. It's fine if it happens once, or even for one fight, because you just didn't think about it. But if you consistently don't know what Stunning Strike does, or what if you're a monk, then you are not a good player because you didn't read your shit. And I'm sorry, it's not an excuse that you didn't have time, because there's a week between sessions usually to run.
Like, okay, Chief, do you mean like amnesiac in terms of they just forgot their past, or they don't know how to use their abilities? Like, because that could be like completely different things there.
While we are waiting, I want to touch on some other things that I've read. I want to touch on PvP today, and I want to finish our thoughts about power building as well, which I think, since we are kind of there right now, knowing your abilities, let's talk about power building. Do make good characters. Don't steal other people's things from them, if possible. You shouldn't be out to be the best at everything, and it should be fine if your character is bad at something, as long as other people in the party are good at it. And it could even be fine if no one in the party is good. It can be really fun to make that overland adventure that we have talked about before, with a bunch of city folk who have never been outside the city, and who are gonna look at the first, I don't know, snail they see and see like, what's that? Oh my god, that looks disgusting. What the fuck? I mean, that's maybe not something you do in D&D, because in D&D it's kind of expected that you sort of are. It's a medieval society, right? But even in D&D you can be like, yeah, okay, we are from the city. Let's go out. Let's go out into the wilderness, and oh no, there's a rainstorm. Oh fuck, did we bring a tent? No, we didn't. Oh shit, we're in trouble.
Does anybody know how to build a shelter?
We can. I have +1 in wisdom. I can roll on it. And that's this kind of thing where a simple problem can then be fun for even higher level characters, just because they are out of the depth. And that's the cool thing with wilderness stuff, is you as the player can usually envision it quite a bit better than if the DM is like, yeah, there's this arcane machine. It works on the principles of the 8 kinds of magic, and now here's the puzzle. That can also be cool if the puzzle is interesting, but you are a step removed from your players being invested in it, because sadly Magic isn't quite real enough for us to experience it here in our world. So,
Mhm.
unlike, okay, we don't have food or shelter in the wilderness and orcs are hunting us,
Mhm.
that's a more immediate problem and more immediately interesting than your cool puzzle, even if the puzzle might be really cool. And yeah, and also to just say this real quick, I remember this from my days of 3.5 and online. Don't be that guy who builds the super strongest character, who does the dip into that class for one level and that class and that class and that class. And then technically, because that is how it's written, my character now has infinite hit points. That's a thing in 3.5, by the way, if you look hard enough.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Just because, if you read this and look at the dictionary while you do it, because then you can look at the dictionary definition of the following three words. So if I interpret it like this, it means that, and then this ability does this, and so on and so on. Fuck that. That is not D&D. That's just being a asshole about semantics, by the way.
It is. It completely is.
And it is taking away from the other players, because if you're at a table where everyone is playing, yeah, my character is Steve the Fighter, and I've chosen champion because I didn't want to think about my character, but I have fun just hitting stuff, and we are kind of casual, and you come there with your super optimized super character, you're in the wrong game. Find another game, or just also play something simple for once and see if it's enjoyable.
Yeah, play a bard with a constitution of 10.
Yeah.
Then make it work.
Right. You had something, I think?
I was all the conversation about amnesiac backstories.
Yep.
It's the only time that I've ever played an amnesiac as a player. Anytime I've played an amnesiac character, it's only been I came up with the why they have amnesia, their backstory, etc. I still have that. I didn't expect the DM to do that for me. I didn't do anything like that. Some of my favorite characters in CRPGs are amnesiacs. I love Disco Elysium. I love that game so much.
I need to play that at some point.
Being a drunk that just wakes up in the middle of things and you're not sure what's going on, that can be a lot of fun to play as a character, especially if you go with the perspective of, okay, so then that makes them hyper willing to go along with the rest of the party then. And I've played that in a tabletop environment before, and that can be really fun. But never would I ever make it that the DM needs to come up with a backstory as a result.
I would say it depends very much on the DM and what they are comfortable with. I've made up backstories for characters before. But I basically didn't actually do it, but I basically took in writing first that the player is okay with me doing whatever. And I mean, that backstory happened to start with, okay, you wake up and the walls are closing in on you. At first you think that's weird, but then you realize you're in a trash compactor. How do you get out?
Because almost starting like one of those point and click adventure games.
Yeah, just with a trash compactor. Yeah, indeed. It's also a case of, I want 5 more points. I'm amnesiac in Shadowrun. Okay. In Shadowrun, that's really fun because it usually means you are fucked some important people. And it was understood that would mean bad things for the character, but the player was fine with it. So hey, let's go.
Oh, and then here's another way. I've had a player do this before. They said, "Oh, I'm not really sure like what I want to do with them. So I know how I want them to look, and I know what race and class to play. But I'm not sure what I want their backstory to be." And I've just been like, "Okay, you can just play with amnesia and make it up as you go along." And they're like, okay. Well, and this was for somebody who just jumped into the game too and had no idea. And I just told them just be willing to go along with things. And they had a lot of fun. They came up with a really detailed backstory because their character started remembering stuff, and they just role played through it, and that was fun.
Nightshade sounds fun, by the way. That sounds like my kind of start. I will say the conceit here. Shadowrun tells you that your negatives, your flaws, which amnesiac is a flaw, give you points to build your character, which essentially makes you stronger in other areas. And there's 2 levels of it. You can either build the character still mechanically, or you can just tell them, I'm a complete amnesiac. You make the character. That's actually a thing that the system supports. And then, of course, the DM can say, I don't want to do that. Please, no, I won't. And then you have to be okay with that as well. At our table, it was understood that it would be fine if we do that, and that whoever DM made up the story would have would just tell the rest of that character's backstory if they wanted to, and everyone else would take context clues, kind of.
When that came up at Shadowrun for me at one of my tables that I played at, somebody wanted to be an amnesiac, so the GM was really flabbergasted with the group already. So he just said, "Okay, everybody come up with 2 things to put in their backstory so that they can have skills extrapolated from that." And then we all did, and they didn't know what they were until we all wrote them on index cards, and then we handed the index cards to them when it became appropriate.
No, that's cool.
It turned into very party based solution rather than DM only solution.
It's always good if you take some of the heavy lifting off the GM, because the GM has a lot to do. And let's quickly go to PvP at the table. And by PvP I mean anything starting from stealing from the party to throwing a wrench into someone else's story, and up to fighting each other.
Yep.
All of that can be fine, but all of that per default isn't fine and has to be agreed upon by everyone at the table. If you start that kind of shit, you are the asshole. And again, it depends completely on the players and what they agreed out of character about what boundaries there are. I'll give a simple example. Shadowrun is a game where you play mercenaries who are all usually quite money-hungry, greedy people. At least that's the default expectation a lot of people go with for their character. They need money either for just to be rich or for other reasons, or to make themselves better with better implants and whatnot. So everyone wants money. So it kind of makes sense in that game to steal from the other players if you can. For example, you find in the safe you just opened, you find not just the thing you need, but you also find a big cred stick of 20,000 new yen, which could really help you with your mafia problem, who want money from you. So you take that, and that is already PvP because you didn't share the money. But in Shadowrun, you kind of go in with the expectation that that's going to happen sometimes because of who you play.
Oh yeah.
As an example,
it's just the nature of the beast. Because I've played in some D&D games that were kind of like the Black Company. If you've ever read any of that, and when you play characters that are just utterly mercenary, the key I've noticed is that there are those players that will just have their character constantly say, "I'm all about the money. I'm all about the money. I'm all about the money." Whereas characters who really are into character, your mercenary isn't going to say that. They're going to walk into a bar and everybody's going to know they're a mercenary. They don't need to tell anybody that.
Indeed. That is also right.
And it can be like that in Shadowrun too. Like, you walk into a bar and Mr. Johnson is already waving at you just because you look like a Shadowrun.
Yeah. But
I tended to play it a little more pink mohawk anyway.
Yeah, same here. What I'm getting at with that thing is you have to set the boundaries before you do. Even in a Shadowrun game, it can be like, no, we will share the stuff equally. And that usually still means someone gets more because, hey, some of the loot is this big gun. My character kind of can't use it. Do you want big gun? Yeah, sure, I'll take big gun. Okay, cool. Now you technically have a few thousand more credits than me. Who cares, right? We are in this together. But the sliding scale between you are getting too much, I'm getting too little, is bad. And also, you kind of invite the problem of, what if my character finds out the other guy stole? In character, you would be like, the expectation would often be, then I'm gonna fight them, right? I'm gonna take the money, I'm gonna demand my share, something like that. So what we actually had in one group is stealing not from each other, but stealing from the objective is okay. Looking into it as another party member isn't. It's actually a rule we made up for one game we were in because that felt fun. Because then,
Yeah.
what then could happen, and that was really cool. We would have the DM sometimes be like, "Oh, by the way, a week after this adventure, some guys rough you up and take the shit back you stole." And one of the other players saw you. And this is a simplified example. Saw that happen. Now figure it out because I want this to be a problem now. But that is a different one. That's the DM giving you that permission basically. We had that rule simply because we didn't want the game to be slowed down by us bickering about it essentially. But I've also been in Shadowrun groups where it's just completely fine. Where I had one game where for 3 sessions we didn't get past meeting the Johnson because everyone was killing each other.
I've had a number of games like that. They just make people are just so incompatible with each other.
Yeah. It was interesting because you could tell that by the 3rd week people were just kind of tired of it, but they had to at least finish.
Yeah. Some work walks in, dandelion eater, and then it just goes from there.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And Chief, yeah, this whole VTuber thing has kind of stopped my attempt to do a Shadowrun thing. But I want to play it again at some point. Yeah, I really miss it. So, do you have other pointers for being a good player? Oh, I have a question.
I don't know. I think we covered it.
Okay.
Oh.
What do you folks think about players running businesses or being nobles? I would say, as long as it is compatible with the story at hand, that's totally fine. It can even be a huge asset.
Yeah, it can really add to the role play. I'll give an example. When I was playing in Corey's campaign, one of our mutual friends who participates in my campaigns a lot, I was playing a half-elven artificer who actually had a business renting out brooms, flying brooms to people so they could fly around Sharn. And it worked into the story beautifully. Like that was what she did in the day, and she just managed her business. And then at night, she was a detective, basically, in the afternoon and evening.
I wasn't there for that one. Sounds cool.
Yeah, it was. I really liked that character. I really liked that character a lot. Ataraxian drew a picture of her.
I think.
But yeah, that's if you make it work with the campaign, it works great.
Yeah, the best example of that is again for me in Shadowrun. As as the players I played Shadowrun with, as we kind of ran the course of Shadowrun for us after like 10 years or something of Shadowrun. So hey, a long time. It was like we were all a bit bored of it, and we were like, hey, we all know how this works now. We can all make the good character in this game. Let's all make funny bad characters, and let's make them gangers, and let's have a bar, and let's run the bar. And that was such a it was such a comedy of errors. Our greatest success after 10 sessions was stealing a sausage van and selling sausages somewhere. And because we needed money for the fucking bar, because we obviously weren't making any, because it was a ganger hole of the worst kind. And all our dumb attempts and our drugged out brains to find any way to make it work didn't work. So we had to steal stuff to even have beer. And it was so good. The problems you can have if you're just bad at everything, it's amazing. It was like one of those those comedy of errors movies. You know what I mean?
Sorry.
And yeah, Archwis. Yeah, I mean, if it's actually you are the count of this whole land. That can obviously interfere with things way too much. That can be... you can do that. It can work. If the other players are also within your inner council or something. And it's an intrigue-based game for the most part. And if the Baron rides out, it's not just the Baron going to the dungeon. Fuck that. It's the Baron and his army going to the dungeon. Now we're going to have a dungeon siege. Like that game, just not shit. And... yeah, you can tailor a game to that, and it can work, and especially. But I would say it's harder to make work in that case. But in episodic games like Shadowrun or something, or even a light D&D game, having your own business is totally fine. It just ties you to a place. And that means the place can now be the focus and can be under threat and whatnot.
Like as a prior example again. Okay, well then this means that she can get access to flying brooms for the whole party temporarily if necessary. Um, and then trying to think of another. Oh, another good example of this is my character Frances. Every single game I play her in, she's a noble of some kind, and I always work it in. And usually I try to ask other players if they want to play her bodyguard or something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's I don't know. It really adds to things, especially if like going back to your prior example of here's how the campaign starts out. Um, okay, it's cool. You want to play a character that owns a business? You own the bar in town. There, you added to the setting immediately.
And Archers, just to, I mean, you are kind of correct, of course. If I send 50 normal soldiers into the dungeon, they're probably going to die. But it makes no sense why the Baron or Count or whatever would be the biggest, I don't know, best fighter in the realm. That's usually not really how it was. They were trained professionally and weren't bad, but I mean, the adventurers in that case I see as different people, not as the Baron. But yeah, I mean, maybe the Baron is an adventurer because that's the story. Fair enough. But then I would also say you are not thinking outside the box enough. If I have 50 soldiers, I can reroute that river into the dungeon. Let's see how the orcs deal with that. If the whole thing is flooded now, have fun with that. Our problem is now solved. And that stuff is of course interesting. If you want to run that kind of campaign, go for it. Absolutely. It is just not something that will fit everywhere. After, of course, I mean, obviously not, right?
People have a hard time with the explanation for it a lot. And I always say, well, my characters are very hands-on, princess, baron, count, whatever.
Yeah. It's the question is the example there, I would say the main problem you're getting into there is two things. Well, for one, the DM obviously has to make the story fit your character then to a much higher degree than usually. Because if you are the Baron, making the adventure about, let's go to a different country for a year and see what happens, and because important things are happening, that's going to be a bigger problem for your character, and you're going to have to work harder to explain why you would do that. You can still do it, and then you can obviously have the plot that the evil stepfather has taken over or something when you come back. Hey, that also works. And also the other players have to kind of cater to you as well, because it makes no sense that I don't know, drunk barbarian number 3 is gonna be an acquaintance of the Baron, or that the rogue, the thief, is gonna be an acquaintance of the Baron, unless they come up with story as to why, you know. And yes, you can do that, but it has to be understood that your character is a bit, I mean, I wouldn't say more important to the plot essentially necessarily, really, but it's kind of a revolving point of the plot. And that's just something you have to work in. And if you want to work that in, it's totally valid to do. And yeah, exactly that. If you just go into the game and say, oh, but my character, I want to be the noble, and I want one person as the bodyguard. I demand that then someone plays the bodyguard. Otherwise, my character doesn't work. Then you are the problem again. That's not how you do it. You just tell them, I want to be a noble. Just because that's the backstory I want to tell, that's the kind of character I want. I want to be kind of snooty, for example, like the aloof and so on. It's just to just think of Frances in that sense, Drake.
Frances is perfect for that, yeah.
But then it can be like, yeah, okay, sure, but then because the campaign just doesn't fit with that, we are going to be pirates on a boat. So maybe maybe that's your roots, but now you're on this boat with the other pirates, and now find a way to survive there, basically, as this snooty noble. Have fun.
Oh yeah, that could be so much fun, especially for a character like that. Well, the last time that I had to do that with her, I was just like, oh, she owns the boat. She chartered this. she's the one who came up with the idea, and everybody else he hired. And I was like,
Hmm,
oh, okay.
sure.
Does this help DM?
Yeah, 100%. And that's how you work together there. Because
Mhm,
yeah, that's just, I mean, if this was my game, I would be like, yeah, we are playing pirates. If you want to
mhm,
do that, I'm totally game. Let's run. And yeah,
mhm,
you can always find the common ground, but you have to talk about it and you have to go in with the expectations to give as much ground as you are taking from, because that's how you make a good game. Hi, Will G. Hi, welcome. So, oof, this has been 2 intense hours. Do we have more? Do we have questions, maybe, dear chat?
yeah. Questions are good.
Yeah.
There, in response to Archwiz, I did another one.
Oh, we have memes. Yeah. Oh, this is going to put us on the map. And
Yes,
Azure,
and
by the way, Azure, welcome back.
yeah, there were.
Have you cleaned
Welcome back.
successfully?
Definitely clean.
Yeah. How clean are you? On a scale of 1 to 10.
Did you channel your Mr. Clean?
Yeah, no buts about it. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I was going to participate in a campaign where she was a noble turned pirate, but that campaign didn't happen. I was kind of sad. She was going to be an airship pirate.
11 out of 10 clean. Wow. That's that.
Mm.
That is
Oh,
the anti-clean. You have to be careful of antimatter in your house
yeah.
now.
Mm-hmm.
To be fair, it mostly instantly annihilates itself, but hey. Um. Okay, Drake.
Yes.
Why is sci-fi harder to tell than fantasy for many people? Do you have an idea?
Yes. With science fiction, there's a lot of presupposition that goes on. Whereas with fantasy, if you say high fantasy, that is such a big umbrella. I'll use high fantasy as the best example because,
Mm-hmm.
like, we're not talking about romance novels here. Uh, with science fiction, like, okay, we're going to do space science fiction. You'll encounter somebody who wants Star Wars, and you'll encounter somebody who wants Star Trek
Mega Man,
immediately.
thank you very much for the raid. Mega Man Chronicles.
Mega Man,
Also,
welcome.
welcome here. We are talking nerd shit, Drake and I.
Very nerdy stuff, talking about science
Yes,
fiction
yes.
versus fantasy, why science fiction can be harder to tell.
Yeah, right now
But
that's the topic.
I think that's the main reason why is because of presupposition. And again, what Azure Butterfly is saying, people stress over the science really hard.
Yeah,
But
and indeed, yeah.
the most popular things ever, they didn't stress too hard about it. They just made up stuff as they went along.
Indeed, it's for me. I would say, in addition to what you just said, sci-fi. If I say, okay, we're going to be in space, it's going to be a space adventure, and that's going to mean to 2 or 3 players. It's going to mean 3 things. For the first player, it's going to mean, okay, we're going to be on the spaceship, and we're going to do diplomacy and solve stuff. And there's going to be technobabble, and there's going to be Star Trek. The next player is like, yeah, okay, we are going to be a smuggler for a rickety ship, and it's going to fly around and high adventure, and there's big bats to fight and so on. It's going to be Star Wars. And the third person is going to be like, yeah, it's going to be basically a Western in space, and we're going to have to survive and make money, and it's going to be a struggle, and it's going to be Firefly. And then those 3 players are going to meet in session 0 and not be in the same game mentally. And that's going to be a problem.
Exactly. Yeah, the suppositions can be quite diverse, but then people get so committed to them too.
Yeah.
Like, I don't run into somebody who, like, I say, okay, we're going to run a high fantasy campaign. They don't immediately say to me, where are the Uruk-hai? Where's the Isaron? They
Yeah.
don't say that to me in response.
Yeah, because those things are the details already. But the themes have to be in your head, and the theme of high fantasy is very cohesive. Yeah. But I will say
More
one
and
thing.
more,
Oh,
yeah.
you first.
More and more I lean towards the, well, okay, let's not worry about that quite so hard. It's kind of the Mystery Science Theater 3000 perspective on it. Just stop worrying about how it works and just relax.
Yeah. For me, I really enjoy nitty-gritty tech stuff. I really enjoy realism in a story that's being told. And that can mean, if magic exists, that magic has rules that it follows. And if it's a science fiction
Yes.
thing, I that's my personal problem often is, okay, how does the FTL work? Oh, so they have jump points. Okay, that means how long does a ship take from planet to planet? I mean, on average, let's say 2 months. Okay, that means we are going to have autonomous planets, because let's be real, if it takes 2 months to reach one, they can take over before the other party knows. Because we didn't establish that there's communication that's faster than that. So the fastest communication is the ship. So the only way we have bigger empires is overwhelming forces, and they are all under the boot of someone. Otherwise, it's going to be individual planets, right? And that's my thought process. And that is what I think at the table, as the DM then tells me something that they made up that's completely different, because their presuppositions were different. And they run into problems. So the best way I found to run sci-fi is actually to say it is Firefly, it is Star Wars, it is whatever. Then you're immediately sharing the same mind space.
Exactly.
And yeah, Archwist, that is also very true. The closest we are there, I feel like, is either Star Wars role-playing game or Shadowrun, actually. Yeah. And everything else is kind of niche, yeah. Even those are niche.
Yeah, everything else is kind of niche. And most of the games I've played have just been super niche with sci-fi. Like one of my favorite ones ever was Bug Hunters, and that was just something for the Amazing Engine system, because I liked it's just the theme of Space Marines going and fighting things. But when you say the word Space Marine, immediately people post 50 Warhammer memes.
Yeah.
And that's not what I'm talking about.
Well, it would have been neat if Dark Heresy had taken off more.
Oh yeah, that I think that could have become a cornerstone for a lot of people, and then they could have said, okay, well, you want to do Star Trek using the Dark Heresy system, now you can. They could have gone that way, but they didn't.
Yeah, Dark Heresy, and the system itself wasn't really good, but they had the power of Warhammer 40k behind it, which I think might have made it work. Yeah, I don't know. Let me rechat. There was a lot of this as I talked about sci-fi.
Well, right now, like Savage Worlds seems to be really useful for telling stories, and so does Stars Without Number. It's just the problem with Stars Without Numbers that it's sometimes a little too simple in some ways.
Yeah, I didn't like it when I read Stars Without Number. It is a bit too simple for me. Yeah. And Chief, here's the thing about magic and technology. I prefer technological explanations because I can make sense of them. With magic, I have to suspend my disbelief a bit more. So on default, on everything being equal, I prefer the tech explanation. That's just my mind, how it works. But I know magic makes it so easy to explain stuff. Yeah, there's a dead ley line here. This happened just this week. Well,
I like that.
What are ley lines? Oh, ley lines are just the life force of your planet. If they are all dead, then that's bad news for everyone. So pretty obviously explained in 2 sentences that this was a bad thing you just found. You couldn't do that with text so easily. I mean, the closest thing I can think of is kind of, someone invented the atom bomb. Have fun in your setting. That's, it's harder to do, but it's more satisfying if you do it, for me. But again, I understand that putting that time in is not realistic in a lot of cases. Which also makes sci-fi harder to do, yeah.
I guess back to keep talking about Eberron. That's why I like Eberron so much, is because you can do all those explanations if you want to in that setting. Whereas there are other settings where I feel like trying to do an explanation doesn't really help. Like when you try to explain things in Dragonlance, it doesn't really help. Same with Forgotten Realms or Greyhawk.
Yes.
But Dark Sun was actually a great example of, okay, magic, arcane magic is life force. You're literally draining life force from the land, from the world. Great explanation. Let's run with it.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah. Also, the idea that it's just really a one-way street, that you can't get it back. That was quite good. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. I love that. And even if it's like just that basic.
Indeed, Final Fantasy VII. Yeah, same thing.
I liked their explanation for a lot of things with regards to materia, and then the system that they used with it. I really liked that too. Like I make it no secret that I don't really enjoy Final Fantasy VII much at all, but God, I love those little details like that, the
Yeah.
materia and so on,
The
and the
main
planet's pain.
the main
Yeah.
good the main good thing about Final Fantasy VII was that the world kind of felt like it made sense. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it made a lot of sense. That and I liked Sid.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked Sid as well. Actually. Yeah. Let's see.
He's going to
Yeah.
cameo in one of my vampire games soon.
Right. You know what setting I want? Sci-fi
What?
setting? BattleTech. I want BattleTech to be big.
Oh God, oh, that would be fun.
Yeah.
I like BattleTech. Like if you make it slightly modular and then toss in whatever else you want in there.
Yeah.
BattleTech is so well thought out.
I would play just BattleTech. Period. It's so good. Because it's also so huge as a setting that you can put anything in there. But the cornerstones of having mech combat and so on, that with that system you're into trouble if anyone is like, but I want to be the mechanic. Then I would tell them, oh, dude, please, you do know what this game is, right? You're gonna sit on your ass for 3/4 of some sessions, and then you're gonna roll once to repair, and that's gonna be your character. So please don't be the mechanic. But yeah, if you solve those problems, BattleTech is just great.
Oh yeah, and
Strictly talking about the setting, not about the system. The system is not that great.
oh yeah, system's not that great, no. But there'd be ways to make it work from a tabletop perspective very easily. Like
Sure.
I can't remember. It was a long ways back. I think it was Polyhedron magazine. They did their own take on what a mech setting would be like using D20 modern rules.
Okay.
And they had basically the idea was they wanted to make it so that all the different classes would make sense in a mech.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's entirely possible. It's just people haven't tried to do that yet.
Indeed. And Azure, I agree. You can make the mechanic work, but there has to be the mech pilot in that setting. Otherwise, it's just, it has to be a mech that they pilot somehow. Otherwise, they can't partake in half the game. I mean, I played that system once for a few weeks, and we had a pilot and 2 mech pilots and a tank jockey. It worked out. But you couldn't have, well, the tank jockey especially had other skills as well, like hacking and so on.
Oh yeah.
And the job was kind of usually to defend that guy, and while our pilot scouted around and stuff. That's just that can work. It's fun.
Like it can work really well. Interestingly enough,
thank you for the posture check.
What's the game? Drop Zone. Drop Zone was a good example of it was I don't know how to describe it. It was a game where everybody had pilots and mechs, and some of them were a healer class, a mechanic class that could heal, and then there was a scout class, there was a summoner class, and there was a tank class, and they were fun.
Yeah, you could make Titanfall into such a game. Yeah, sure. I don't see why not. That didn't work, Azure, but thank you all already for what I assume will happen in a second.
There we go.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the biddies.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's what on my long list of things I want to play is BattleTech like setting.
Yeah.
Or BattleTech.
I know which one you're talking about.
Rules. Yeah.
Drop Zone is a lot of fun. Like it's still there and it's still free. So.
It's also because BattleTech wasn't afraid to have very flawed people in it, and where have no good sides and so on. That's all of those books are kind of written from the expectation that everyone is an asshole, and I like that because that is what our future would look like if it looked anything like that future. Okay,
It's good to see you, Chief. You take care.
Have a good one. See you soon.
My nerdy fantasy is that the Expanse is what happened beforehand, and then BattleTech is what happened later.
Oh, that could be cool. That would be interesting. The Expanse is also a setting I would really want an RPG in. And I know
It does already exist.
I know
but
one exists, so I just don't think it was that good.
yeah, it uses. I can't remember the name of the system. It's a 2d6 system.
Okay. Yeah, I
Or
read
no, it's a 3d6 system. It's a 3d6 system.
Okay. Oh, Expense is so good. No, we are not. I'm not going to spoil, but just the.
Well,
I mean, that's just our future with one conceit. We have good engines, which are even not totally impossible on a physics level. It's just untested, basically. So it could be real. I don't think it will be, sadly, but hey. And then just extrapolate your world from there, and it made sense. I was never like, that part is stupid. I mean, I would say in some aspects they might have gone a bit to 11 with their tropes, but that's fine to do that. To shorthand your world, to explain your world really quickly.
Well, also like kind of like Firefly went all the way with well, they got the central worlds and we got us on the boonies. They took that to 11, but I'm just like, but that's the setting. So cool, run with it. Kind of like, okay, we're doing the prequel movies now. There's Jedi everywhere.
Indeed.
Okay, you're finally taking it to 11. Thank you.
Also, I mean, let's be fair. Firefly is kind of the same setting as Expanse in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I mean,
it could be taking place in the same universe.
Indeed, it absolutely could. Just instead of having the central world, just say Earth. Congratulations, it works. Instead of having different systems, just have different asteroid bases they go on. You couldn't have the cool outside shots, which were cheap, and Firefly didn't have a budget, but hey. There we go. Azure, I have opinions on Outer Worlds, and they are not positive. But the gameplay fun, story not great, setting great, story not great. And the decisions you were presented with were way too simplistic, and the things they thought as the good options weren't the good options. But not a bad game. It's just I had hoped for more from people who made Fallout 1 and 2. Or some of the people, I should say. Or was it 1 and 2, or was it New Vegas? It was New Vegas, right?
Yeah, it was New Vegas.
It was New Vegas, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, well, a number of people from, so I suddenly forgot their names, wrote for Fallout 1 and 2 also.
Yeah. And Artris, yeah, tech can easily be that. That's this thing Star Trek easily could have gotten wrong in Next Generation and stuff. It could have been about technology, but technology was always the backdrop, and the characters were important. It wasn't important that how data worked. It was important that that guy over there wants to take data away, to disassemble him to make more of data. That's our episode. It's always character driven. They did that super well, and later series didn't do that very well.
Well, I feel like Deep Space Nine did it even better than Next Gen did, but that's another long conversation.
Yeah, both of those are the good series of Star Trek. I will always credit original series for being original series, but it was, I mean, in a lot of ways, it has very good episodes, but some of them are just, we have this set left over. Let's make a cheap episode. And those weren't great. Is Data Man? Yeah, Measure of a Man is the best Star Trek episode in my opinion. With a bullet, it's amazing.
Yep, flat out.
Yeah. And no one really cares how data works. Indeed, it's just important that it does work because we like data until the movies.
If somebody answers without his shirt on, well, that's another form.
Yeah, and you can also tell when they didn't care anymore about their own setting, because in one early episode, Data gets shot with an arrow on the holodeck, and it's like, oh, this thing impacted me here and there, and it destroyed some subsectors, but it's fine. I can repair that later. And then in the movies, he just struck off a machine gun and so on. And Azure, okay, get ready for your stream. Have a good stream.
Yeah, have a good one.
RE4, you said earlier. That's I'm sure you can just do that one with your eyes closed. You're pro at all those games.
Oh yeah. agree also about military fiction.
Oh, Silent Hill Phone. Sorry,
I've
that's different. No,
read too much of it.
you might want to close your eyes. Silent Hill. Sorry,
Oh, yeah.
sorry. And Archers, it's totally fine. I like your opinions. They are kind of a lot of like mine.
And I've read a lot of military fiction, so I totally feel that. I just all the
Yeah.
time I'm just like, can we get to the conflict? Like, why are we still talking about this machine gun?
Oh yeah, that's so bad in some of those fucking books. Yeah, Tom Clancy books are so bad for that. Let me tell you
Like-
about this theoretical drive system for 3 pages. I read one of those books and never again.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely date how old I am again. I remember playing Rogue Spear a lot with friends over and over and over again
Do not-
long ago.
Do not remember that at all.
That's an old Rainbow Six game.
Okay.
Yeah, oof. It was interesting because it was a game that had an actual auto aim toggle,
Okay.
but it was also multiplayer. So it was like, what? Why is this? Yeah. Oh, that was the game.
Great, great. Do I have to retweet any of this? I have to retweet this one. Give it to me. Let's be real, no? This is very important information about today.
Oh yeah, Herman Melville fans, yes.
Oh, you know, Melville, the difference there is Melville just wrote about something he kind of knew was not going to be around forever. Because and just wanted to put in as much detail about whale hunting as he could. That's always how I see it, at least.
I have waxed on about things one too many times scientifically myself, so I have no room to talk at times.
Yeah, Archers, it's okay. I like that book a lot. But you know what I like even more? Star Trek 2. And them quoting that book a lot.
Yes.
Wrath of Khan is still the best Star Trek movie in my book.
There were some parts of 6 that still I keep with me to this day because Klingons quoting Shakespeare? What are we doing?
Yeah. I like that spawned the whole thing. Yeah, they also have Shakespeare, and there's Klingon Shakespeare and stuff. And yes, Archers, we all like good stories. I think that's the glue that holds us together here.
Yeah.
As for areas, Ataraxian, I know you can come up on the fly with song lyrics, which is something I envy you for. So, hey, I don't think you can do too many. Yes,
I don't think you can do too many either.
Macbeth is best in the original Klingon is so great. There's the Neckbearders of Neckbeards has made a video about that. Kyle something about how that's really not true, because what they made up as a conlang for Klingon. Obviously, it had to work in Star Trek, right? So there's a word for deflector field and a word for ship hull and whatnot, but there aren't words that Shakespeare would have used. So what they actually are saying in Klingon is a lot of instead of lower your sword, it's lower your bat'leth and whatnot, because there isn't a word for sword. It's just those weird two-handed things they have. And okay, that makes sense. But then they talk about lowering shields and raising shields because they didn't have other words to use, and it doesn't really work.
Yeah, and then I'm just reminded of the fact that one of the best parody videos is Klingon style. That was
oh shit. No, I don't have to look. I don't want to look that up. I'd have to. I don't know why this is in my brain.
I'll
but
post it on the Discord anyway.
Yeah, do that. But I want to look this up. Apropos of nothing, I just said this in my head just now. Well, that isn't it. That actually isn't it. Wait. This is it. Yeah.
What is it? What do you smell? Man flesh. Oh, God, darn it, they've picked up our trail. Run up, boys. We're gonna show them. We'll show those men.
The fact that you said croissant swords, thank you. Thank you.
Man flesh is what I smell. It's the dumbest thing. This is, if you ever wanted to know why it can be important to do voices in your game.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes. Oh shit, that's so good. I love that video so much. Do we have more? By the way, I'm gonna say we have 30 more minutes or so, because I am starting to run out of steam a little bit after my marathon yesterday. But I'm having fun. Let's talk about more stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just making a meme for Archwiz Emery.
Cool. So and I have to think of something to talk about. Oh yeah, don't be married to a system.
Oh yeah, never be married.
Be married to your stories. The system doesn't fucking matter. If as a DM, if you're spending an hour designing your encounters according to combat rating and stuff, fuck, that's the bad use of your time. I'm sorry. Don't ignore that stuff. It can be a good guideline. But let's give a simple example. If your party is a wizard, a bard, and a rogue, then they're gonna have problems with different combat encounters as compared to the barbarian, the fighter, and the cleric, the other party. So giving them the same encounter to fight, it's going to lead to vastly different outcomes anyway. So you have to it's partially experience, but it's also partially just imagining stuff. What do those wizards, what did I say, wizard, bard, and rogue do if 20 orcs attack them? Well, if the 20 orcs are on them and the wizard can't do fireball, then they have a problem, right?
Yep.
So maybe I have to change up my encounter a little bit for that party and give them the chance, if they are smart, to use that spell or something, so on. And never be afraid to change the encounter on the fly. Never be afraid to even, I wouldn't say fudge dice. Fudging dice is an iffy subject. I would say maybe that orc didn't have 38 points left, maybe he had 10 left. If the fight is going too badly, maybe he goes down. That can happen, right? Don't overdo that either. But sometimes it's fine. And if it's too easy, there's more orcs. There's always more orcs. You are the DM. You can always throw more enemies into the fight if it serves you. And yeah, that's also
it's a matter of strategy too.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, as soon as you mentioned that party composition, I was like, well, duh, the bard just thunder waves and then the wizard fireballs. I immediately thought of that.
Yeah, and for one, Ataraxian, of course, the bard seduces anyone. That is not a meme, that is reality. It always happens.
Yes, always happens. Always happens.
And Archwiz, I wouldn't say fudge as a rule or something. It's not something, you shouldn't be totally just ignore the rules as written. Of course not, because you kind of agree with everyone to play D&D. If the rules aren't going to be in play for the DM, that's also not great. But don't ruin like a year of work you have done for yourself because that orc over there is up with 2 hit points and now has critted the wizard and killed them. I don't know. At that moment, I would fudge. Quite simply, I would have a reason why that didn't happen. Yeah, it's worst case indeed. It's not a kill it so everyone gets captured or something. Continue the story. I was recently in a game where someone was really anal about running the rules as written and not very good at communicating some things. to the
Mhm.
party. So what happened? There was an encounter where we had to silently go somewhere and find someone. It was from the explanation anyone had been given. It was basically silent, and we were at the harbor and so on. And that guy was there, and we had to talk to him. And then he wasn't happy to see us, and so he got a bit loud. And then one of the party members was like, "Okay, use thaumaturgy to shout at him, making it really loud, so that I have more weight to my words that I'm going to tell him." Then the GM was like, "Okay, we're going to stop here, because I now have to roll initiative for 64 guards that just heard that they are coming running." And at that moment, I was like, "Dude, what guards? You never mentioned guards in your whole setup for this. There weren't any guards anywhere." And of course, as a player, I also know it's a city. There are going to be guards there.
Oh yeah.
But is it really going to have to be 64? Are they really going to all come, and are they really going to all be alerted and whatnot and whatnot and whatnot? Don't sabotage yourself with such a move, basically.
Hmm.
And you can get so much more out of your encounters if they are tailored well to the party than if you just run, I don't know, the book as written, if it is a book, for example.
Or the book, the adventure, the
Yeah.
prescription, if I may. But yeah, you're making some really good points, Archbishop Emery. The reason why I was laughing was because when you said powerful money making / workforce strengthening tactic, I imagined a big old orc wearing very thick glasses, a white press shirt, dress pants, walking over to a hobbit who's on the ground, shielding his face, and the massive orc wearing these thick glasses says, "You have my stapler."
Yeah. It can also be as simple as being like, if the rogue, if the player asks, "Can I do this?" For example, "Can I kick the orc chief down the tower?" And then you should never be like, "No." Then you should be like, "Yeah, sure you can. Roll me strength, roll me athletics, roll me whatever." And giving people the option to interfere with the story in a bigger way than the rules actually would say to allow. Because there aren't any rules in D&D for kicking someone off the tower, or kicking someone back even. Moving someone is usually not very easy, and this involves grappling and whatnot.
Yes, there is.
Okay, there's.
Yeah.
Then I don't remember that part. But anyway,
Oh,
let's say Mr. Orc is 5 feet too far away from the edge to actually do that.
yeah.
Just give the player the chance anyway. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what is it?
Business Orc is actually a VTuber as well. Yeah, there's a Business Orc VTuber.
It is. Yeah. But yeah, I was specifically referring to Office Space.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
But yeah, I agree about pulp fantasy. I grew up reading pulp fantasy, like Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. They get the crap kicked out of them constantly. Like all the women they ever loved die horribly,
Yeah.
and that's a huge part of that aesthetic and that whole kind of setting. And I've played characters who've been through that kind of thing a lot, and I don't know, it's a huge part of playing those kinds of characters.
Why don't I see this on your timeline? Is this something
know.
you made?
Yes.
Why is it not here?
I don't know. That's weird.
Oh, because I'm under the replies. It's a reply. Okay. Is there another one we missed? No. Okay. Perfect. I saw the faces.
The faces made it. Yeah, I tend to do really hard encounters too. My players hardly die, but then again, I have 2 wizards in my latest big campaign, so
I'm
kind of hard to kill 2 wizards.
I've said it before, I prefer the single hard fight over several smaller ones.
Yeah.
Not that I would never do the several smaller ones, but if I can get away with giving one big fight, I'd rather do that than having a series. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, heck, Jamie Lannister exists for a reason.
Oh yeah. Let's talk about villains. How do you make a good villain?
Yeah, villains is a good one. Well, I make all of my villains relatable, like all
Yeah.
of them.
That's the obvious one. Yeah.
Even the faceless one that you're encountering now, yep, she's going to be relatable. Just
Mhm.
it isn't immediately apparent, but eventually they are all relatable.
Yeah, that's for sure. You have to. The worst kind of enemy is the one who's just evil for just wanting power or something, and that's
Mhm.
your description, because then it's so one-dimensional. It's it's worse than a Bond villain. At that moment they're usually very bad.
Mhm.
Evil for evil's sake, reveling in it, like the Emperor, for example, in the prequels. That is fun, yeah.
Mhm.
But I like to have more in there, because
Mhm.
in the right story you can tell that you can be evil for evil's sake, and that works, and that can work as a good villain for sure. Especially if you, in D&D terms, if you do devils and other outsiders.
Mhm.
I prefer.
Sometimes it makes an amazing PC too.
Sure, yeah. The thing is, I do prefer the I put it like this: you can have such a villain, totally, but you shouldn't. That shouldn't be your only type of villain that you have.
Yeah.
Someone in your story needs to be motivated by other stuff, and that's one of the problems with the prequels, because everyone there is just evil for evil's sake if they are on the enemy side. And the only people motivated to do anything are usually paid for it and then get double crossed. That's bad storytelling. That's not very interesting. The Master Troller has their place in the story, 100%. Even maybe as the main villain, but what I would like them to do, I did that in a game once actually, is at the 11th hour the second in command just betrays them for good reason and takes over. And you can have the best of both worlds. Then you can have the ambiguity of having a guy you actually might not totally disagree with being in charge all of a sudden, and having had your cool message trailing villain the whole time, your Skeletor or whoever, who's just evil for evil's sake.
Mhm.
And even a guy who's evil for evil's sake should have more motivation than that. Why do they want to be evil? Because it's easy to have power that way. And why do they want power? Well, they want to rule the universe with an iron fist, because that is the if they do that, they can be immortal for some reason. Let's be simple as possible with that. That is they still need motivation, even if they are completely irredeemably evil. Give them motivation. And also, even if they're irredeemably evil, they can still be interesting, and they can still be compelling, and they can still be, your players can still work for them. Maybe if the cards were played right.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of that goes into play Ataraxian with rebellious minions, or it could runs the whole gamut. Like you
Yeah.
have a bunch of orcs who are really upset about having to work in the factory. I've actually done that before, and they wind up being exploited by and a mustache twirling elf. Ironically, in this situation, was the
Perfect.
case. But it turned out that the mustache twirling elf had greater, what's the best word? Greater interests beyond merely this factory. It was just part of a much bigger plan.
And
And
yeah,
that turned out to be the depth for that villain. Like they acted like the mustache twirling villain because then everybody expected it. But then there was more going on behind the
oh
scenes.
yeah, and I would agree with Archris that one of my favorite villains to have is the villain the party or the player willingly put into their story, which for Warlock is the patron, and for other players can be, well, anything you put in their backstory. That is just good, because obviously you're going to tie in a character that way, and it's going to be yeah, they're obviously important because you kind of have to please your patron as a warlock. So what happens if I don't? I mean, you can look at Critical Role for that, where eventually the Warlock just wasn't a Warlock anymore. Or double or dual class, so I don't know what actually mechanically happened. Oh yeah, Ataraxian, yeah.
I mean,
Hair trolling femmes, yeah, femme fatales. I can go for that all day. Ah. Right, so...
no, that's even better.
Mhm.
That's somebody that's not even a warlock and still is the warlock's patron.
Oh yeah, that can... I mean, I can do that.
Yeah. In one game long ago, there's a rogue in the group who cut a deal with some archdevil. I don't remember which
Oh,
one.
Uh,
And that was the whole point of it. He won power.
I was actually referring to Ford in the second campaign. But yeah, Percy had 2 or 3 levels of Warlock because they wanted to have Hex. Yeah. But but Mercer did a good job with when Percy said, I'm a fighter level 15 or whatever, I want to take a Warlock now. Mercer didn't just say, yeah, fine, okay, I don't care. No, he did come up with the problem with the haunted gun and whatnot. And it was a big issue for them for a while. It didn't end up being the huge thing.
It's kind of funny because Taliesin's character in LA by Night was the most straightforward character ever.
Yeah, indeed. I love him. I love him in Elba Night so much. Yeah.
Oh my God, he's just like, yeah, I like to blow shit up. Okay. Yeah, I liked his character for that reason in the end, ironically.
And yeah, I would, if you don't have time for Critical Role because it's 10,000 hours at this point, LA by Night is a very good series about vampire.
Yeah, it's a good go-to. Not a Drop to Drink is another good one that's really short. That's just 4 episodes. And they're going to do a second season of that one here
Oh,
soon.
nice. Okay,
And that
cool.
one was intended to be a short arc. I'll link it in the Discord.
Okay. Thank you very
Good
much.
for people to watch. And it features a session 0. If people are more interested in seeing what a session 0 vampire should look like.
Cool.
I feel that way when I've tried to watch Critical Role too. I never got into it because I'd rather just play.
These days I don't have time anymore because I have other streams to watch when I do stuff. I used to have them on just in the background doing other things. These days there's always someone on I want to watch instead, so I can't really commit to Critical Role. That's just the reality of it. So I'm like,
yeah, I feel that.
I don't know, 10 episodes behind at this point. It's going to be more and more.
Yeah, I mean, like I just looked at my schedule for the upcoming week and I'm like, wow, I'm doing things every day but one.
Yeah. It's not something I've ever watched just, attentively. Of course, you look over when the big moments happen or when it's stuff, and they all, and there's a big character arc or something concluding. Then you just watch for a while, but it's not like, I am there for 4 hours of them bumbling about the town or whatever. That's just thing. That's something I have on in the background, and that's fine. I mean, it's basically a podcast with video. Like this today, there's not really. I mean, there's not a lot going on in on the screen, but hey, we have lots of viewers comparatively. I like this. What else? Oh yeah, this is a small one, but a big pet peeve of mine. Do you know how the books for D&D list a lot of magic items?
Yes.
So this is I typed this wrong, but this is a list of magic items for D&D. Let's look at weapons. There's weapon +1. There's ammunition +1. There's Berserker's Axe Dagger. And very soon, from this one. Yeah, let me just spoiler alert you. Over half of these are going to be swords. We're seeing this
Mhm.
here.
Oh yeah.
Swords and
Yeah.
maces and sometimes an axe. Please, as the DM, if your players want to play a certain class and a certain character with a certain weapon, for example, a spear, the most ubiquitous weapon in history, the spear, don't be like, yeah, I guess that you have a, well, there isn't any weapon here. Have a +1 spear. No,
Mhm.
just as a spear of wounding. Please don't look at this list as the list of items to give them. It is guidelines. It is
Mhm.
something you
I
could
agree.
be doing.
hmm Or if you're playing your level 8 Klingon, give him a croissant spear. I mean, come on.
Yeah, indeed. Or two of them. I mean, hey, that would
Yeah,
really the
2 of
thing.
them.
Monkey
Yeah.
grip in World of Warcraft or whatever.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is also bad writing. The defender is just, oh yeah, this is a defensive weapon. Why is it a sword? Why is it any sword? How is a two-handed weapon good at defending? Fuck you. Fuck you, writers.
Yeah.
It's,
And if you want to get really crazy with it, like, okay, I'm playing this halfling chef that happens to be a rogue. All right, they come
Yeah.
across a magic skillet
Yeah.
that's really good at defending.
and
There you go.
And indeed, Ataraxian, it is a simple fix, but I have played with DMs who didn't do it. Who saw this list of weapons, and that was the list of magic weapons you could get. So the only whip you can get that's magical is +1, because there's no whip on this list. As an example, first example I could think of. And that is garbage writing, I'm sorry. They not from the writers of D&D, because these things again are supposed to be examples. But then, why are there only vicious weapon? Okay, I guess you can have a vicious weapon, which is not very good. I think that's on the 20 you do more damage. Yeah, that's crap.
Yep.
Doesn't even have +1. Why is this rare? It's stupid.
Mhm.
Nitty gritty. We could go into nitty gritty so deeply.
But yeah, what Archwiz is saying about past editions making your own,
Yeah,
but here's
indeed,
the guidelines
indeed, yeah.
for it. Oh, I loved that. I loved it
Yeah.
so much, especially the when they started going to detail with Weapons of Legacy. There was some second edition stuff too that worked really well for that. That was just like, if you really want to make it interesting, do this and that. Yes, please.
Yeah. And obviously, it's not to say that any of this is written. These items are not in themselves written badly, and it makes sense that the moon sickle, which is a druid weapon, would be for kind of a sickle for druids, because that's kind of a signature thing. Then why isn't any monk weapon? Why do monks are kind of reduced to using swords? I guess because short swords are monk weapons.
hmm
There's so many examples. Also, there's nothing for moon druids and whatnot. Just don't be afraid to go outside the book and put new stuff in that isn't in the book. That goes for everything. It goes for monsters, it goes for items, that goes for settings, that goes for everything. The best things you can do isn't to learn a setting, like, I don't know, Faerun or whatever, and do the best Faerun campaign you can make. It's always going to be more interesting to do your own setting, because that is your own setting.
hmm I agree completely.
Yeah. And if you really want to run a game in Faerun, do it. Please. Fine. Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
We-
Like
we did-
fallen in love with Eberron. I've told so many stories in it. I still will.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy for me to just turn around and go, here you go. Just read these books. Have fun.
And no,
And
Atreus,
if you want more.
it's not inherently more interesting. But what I'm getting at is get in the habit of altering things that were presented to you. That is how you get better as a storyteller. Because if I'm running, going to pet peeves with Faerun again, if I'm running Faerun as written, then why are we here? Let Elminster solve the problem. And that's obviously that's over the top from me, but you are not. It's not automatically better either to have the setting that's pre-written to run that. Those are also just helping hands that someone extended to you if you don't want to put the time in to make your own setting. But it can be very rewarding and a very good exercise to make your own setting. I also, kind of agree, yeah. Archwist, actually, yeah, if you don't have strong opinions about where you want to set it, if it's just, I want to tell this adventure idea I have about kobolds in that mine, you can set that anywhere, sure.
Mm-hmm. But I've even done it that way, like, okay, here's where we start, and I have no idea what setting it is, like literally none. And then as we move forward, people start reading stuff and are just like, maybe this would be cool if it was, I don't know, Dark Sun.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go from there.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Dark Sun's a terrible example because
Dark Sun might be,
your race doesn't exist here.
You are just suddenly a bit different.
Your halfling is more of a cannibal now.
Okay. I went forward a little bit, let's say, a little bit much there. No, it is, of course, consider the scale of what you want to do. If it's a one-shot, or if it's even a short campaign or whatever, you really should not put too much work into your world building beyond what you will need for it. So, of course, there's also partial preference. You might like that setting. As I said, Eberron is really cool. I like playing in Eberron. All fine. But you are, in my opinion, you're gonna get better as a DM if you work at creating your own stuff. And that can be adventures, that can be campaign settings, that can be items, anything. Yeah. And yes, of course, it's gonna be work to create your own world. You understand? Obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you do it like I say, make up one place and work outwards for what you need to have. That's gonna take time. It's gonna take time and writing skill and so on. But if you don't flex those muscles, they can't get better. And I know DMs who have just memorized the map of Waterdeep, including names of streets and whatnot, and know who lives in what house and what, and that is garbage to me. That is not creative at all. That's just memorizing lists. I know there's a druid here because that says in the book on page 312 that the level 5 druid runs the shop. Archwist, I think fan fiction. It's not the same muscles. It is a writing muscle. It's not the same writing muscle you would exercise if you made your completely own thing. But of course, if page 1 is just okay, Harry Potter is here, but now the portal opens and now it's in Halo. I don't know, making something up right on the fly here. I don't know if that even exists. Probably someone wrote that. I can imagine that. And from there on, you just write a mashup of stuff. That can be an interesting exercise, I feel. Halo and there's Halo Potter. Yeah, you understood immediately where I was. Yeah. Imagine him with in that armor, yeah, with just that little scar on the helmet, yeah. But again, don't be afraid to start on that process. And if it is the monk really wants a cool weapon, a cool monk weapon, the nunchucks aren't even in the book. You can't even give him nunchucks. So just make them up, give them stats that aren't totally terrible, even if nunchucks are not very good weapons. Who cares? And then give them frostbrand, because why not? Why does it have to cut? It's a fucking ice thing. It can be anything, can be cold. And there you go. Weapon given. And of course, you can then be like, yeah, but maybe this is cooler. Maybe I come up with my own thing. Maybe it gives if you use a key point, it gives you this and that. Yeah, 100%. Write that. It's great. Just your own stuff is always going to be more interesting to yourself, at least, and hopefully to your players as well, than book stuff. That's my opinion. And in the best case, something like Eberron, which is just, I agree, a very good setting. If you're like, okay, it would take me a year to write a setting as good as this, and then it will still be derivative, because actually I want to run this game and this game and this game, basically in Eberron, because they fit so well. Of course, then that would be time spent, not spent well. Let me see. With diorama storytelling. I am not familiar with the term, so yeah, let's talk about that soon. Did we agree on Friday this week or next week already?
I don't remember. I know that some week you said Friday.
No, Emery and I would do Friday again, and yes, we have agreed on that. I haven't agreed on what we are going to do, but we're going to do something. So yeah, let's pencil that in. Please remember, because I won't.
All right.
Yeah. And Ataraxian, I agree with that as well. That's a good point. If you know that you are in Waterdeep and that there's 55 magic shops here, the question is, why can't I buy this item? It's going to come up a lot more than if you are just in Magic Town and the DM can be like, no, there isn't. There's only in Big Town, and there's no magic shop here. Sorry, you don't know. You haven't found one. Discussion over.
There you go. I have the debut of Halo Potter uploaded.
Oh my god, I can't wait. You're Master Chief Harry. Very good, yeah. Yeah, he's not old enough to be a soldier, that's right. Oh my. Okay, my voice is actively dying right now.
Yeah, it's starting to die. Yeah.
So
you sound lovely, but I want you to take care of you.
Yeah, I agree. So since by the time I have decided who we're gonna rate, it's gonna be 3 hours as well. I feel like we did good.
Yeah, we did really good. We covered a lot.
Let me see who is on. I would say I would almost rate Azure again, but we already have rated Azure so much that I kind of want to give someone else some love.
Go in the trap.
Yes.
Go in the trap. Nope. Go
Spread
no,
that
no,
love.
Go down. Go down. Go down. Go down. Go down.
Ooh.
I almost took a job opportunity of moving to Alaska
Oh
to
yeah.
be a teacher.
Oh yeah. Since I know we have
but
we have people
unfortunately
from
I hadn't finished
a
my
certain
thing in
community
time
here, and
for my
also we have
degree, so
Atta
I
here
wasn't
as an
able to.
artist. Let
But
me
I
rate another
nearly,
awesome artist that I've recently
Oh,
seen.
yeah.
I nearly just
Artist time.
went for.
Can't find a D&D stream for us right now, but hey. So, thank you very much for being here. I will be back tomorrow. We're playing with Locke, Lone Wolf Locke.
Oh,
We are gonna be in Terraria, which they have never played, and that's gonna be fun as heck.
oh yeah. Terraria can be a lot of fun
Oh, yeah.
co-op. Oh,
I'm gonna guide them through it. And for now, let's check out Bruce is a Shark, who's
nice.
doing art right now. And yeah, you are gonna be quite amazed because what I saw is really cool. So have a good one. Have a good night,
Yeah.
everyone, or day.
Take care.
It depends where you are. And I will see you soon, tomorrow, sometime. We will see. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh yeah. Nice beefy raid. I like it.
Thick raid.
Second, you said Archie, and I was about to say, congratulations, Emery is now Archie. Nura, oh my gosh, Nura, I was gushing about you earlier. I'm so sorry I streamed at the same time as you. I love you very much. Hello. Hello. Oh, thank you for the follow. Hello. Yes. I was
Now I
saying
just
that
need
I
to
love
play a
looking at your
dwarf that
designs.
has battle
You
bread
just give my
from
brain the
Terry
good
Pratchett,
dopamine chemical.
and
beautiful.
have one that happens to be a Trekkie, so they have their croissant sword.
That's great.
I will not then ever.
Ah,
Bad
okay,
idea.
man, I'm sorry. I forgot that you're even still in TeamSpeak. In
I-
TeamSpeak. In voice.
No,
I'm
it's
just gonna hang up. This was
very
just fun.
good.
We,
Keeps me alive.
next Sunday,
Yeah.
we have to talk about
I
what we
love
do
the
next
color.
week,
I
but
think that's what it is.
we
I
can do
think I
that.
love the color
Yeah.
so
Not
much.
now.
I think
We'll
the
figure
color
it out.
combination
Yeah.
is really
Yeah, not now.
unusual,
We'll
but it
figure
also
it out.
makes me happy.
Have a good one. Bye bye.
Yep.
I'll
too.
tell you
Take
stats
care
in a
of your
second
books.
because I'm curious. I think must be around 10 viewers. Bye bye.
Gosh. I know I'm so angry. I didn't think that would happen. I didn't think. Oh wait, my time is up. Stop. There's so much going on. Stop giving me notifications. I'm sorry I started streaming at the same time as you. I legitimately didn't think about it. I love and appreciate you. You make me happy. I hope you had a good stream, by the way. I hope you had a nice time. Good people deserve to have a good time streaming. That's only fair. Excellent. Good. A gushin' for a gushin'. Yeah. Duh. Streaming at the same time as others. I have big anxiety. Bass permagush. No anxiety allowed. I'll try. If I went to a restaurant and they were like, sorry, you can't have anxiety in here, I would just have to leave. They would have to kick me out. I'd have to be escorted out of the building. No, what are you doing? There we go. Admittedly, now I'm also thinking about going on an airplane and being asked to leave because I'm being too antsy. Pardon me, I also have to turn this on. And my restaurant anxiety is complimentary. Here, we have to trigger the old Bruces. I have to go back. I have to put back in the box. There we go. It could be. It could be a big mom. I need to clean this part up anyway. Where are you? Where are you? There you go. It's like a boss monster, Kara. It's like a boss monster, Kara. Oh, why did you do that? Oh my god, please don't do that. Oh my god, please don't do that again. Don't give me anxiety. No. That's not fair. You're legally required to follow Archwizard Emery on Twitch. It's a law. I can't encourage you to break the law. You gotta follow it. What is this? Dang elf laws, exactly. Amazing croissant swords. No. See, Soda is a law-abiding citizen who follows all the appropriate people to follow. What is this? Where does it come from? Right there? Okay, well, what is this supposed to be? Why did I do this? You are legally required to love and appreciate my friends. It's the law. I don't know if this is communicating very clearly what I want, but that's art. Love and appreciate citizens. Oh gosh, there's so many emotes. On VTuber Island, follows represent line. Can you imagine, like, I say this because I love the Jenny Nicholson video, the, like a Clash of Two Worlds TV show. What was it called? the one where it was a sci-fi show, and one side was future, and the other side was past, like a show like that. Except one side is Twitter followers, and the other side is Twitch followers, and you get banished to one side of the house, the other, based on the fluctuation of your numbers. That would be terribly cruel, and I would also watch that a lot of it. Thank you. I will take a look at it shortly, Soda. I appreciate it. I'm getting so old. No. I don't know what I'm gonna do about the face, because I honestly didn't think about it. I thought the hair would cover it more than it did. Let me work on another part and I'll come back to it. I'll come back. I'll loop back around. So much less cluttered. I'm using the version on the iPad, so it could be less cluttered just because I don't have that much screen space. But it's true, I also don't like looking at many windows, so I try not to keep many open. Yes! Low-key, I do live the cluttercore life, because I like shiny garbage. I could probably add another snake and cover it up, but I should be an adult and not do that. Shitty garbage weed. I love little things. They make me happy. I love having too many books on my desk, and I don't like this buzzing. Never mind, you're fixed. Where humans were forced to fight each other with sticks. Cheat where you can. It is important in art that you cheat wherever you can. I thought I was gonna give her like a rapier, but I think the design is too cluttered. I don't think she can have anything else. I will just get rid of this arm though and redo it then. Hold on, I'm moving around in my chair and I might make noise. But I'm too far away to hit the mute button. Ow. Oh gosh, what was it, like Battle of Two Worlds or something? Someone literally shattered like all of the bones in their leg. Still Karazhan. Oh gosh, a guy like permanently ruined his eye because he got hit in the face with something. People were shocked with cattle prods. They constantly put the one team on the bridge of hypothermia. What kind of Bruce you want? What flavor, Soda? What flavor Bruce? Let's get him on there before I fiddle with the hands too much. What flavor Bruce? Wide Bruce. Okay, you got it. I'm gonna end up covering up my supply list, so I hope that's okay. Let's go wide. Edit transformation. Ouch. God, I hope this is the right value. A little bit further than that. We can go further than that. There we go. How's that? Oops. I guess I'm rearranging this. There we go. Now we're friends. Now I'm friends. We can go further than that. We can. His hand has become covered up by the snake head, which is fine by me. Is that an acceptable wide Bruce, or would you like the Bruce to be wider? Or perhaps taller, more of a balanced Bruce than just a wide baby? Let's go for like a sassy hand, I like that wide blues. Imbalanced is beautiful though. Asymmetry is natural and beautiful and appreciated. Let's go for the classic cheat hand. Ah, shit, I'm on the wrong layer. Yep. Okay, you know what? Let's just... 1, 2, 3, 4... Folder. Layer. Duplicate. Off. Layer. And just start merging them. I'm tired of all these layers. I don't like it. I want to return to monkey. Now I don't know if I should make an attempt. I feel like I like this the way it is. Monkey. I'm gonna get cake. There's all these layers. Carrot cake. That would be delicious, quite frankly. I'd eat that up. Because the palette is yellow and blue, so it would probably be like blueberry lemon. It would probably be like scrumptious. To be honest, like low-key, I'm actually a little scared of monkeys. And so I don't know if I want to be monkey brain. I think I'd rather ascend to crab. But I will put up with it. Why do you go black for a second and scare me like that? How the points are called Bruce points. Thank you. I actually cake except a VTuber. I would love it if a VTuber came out and their whole gimmick was that they were cake. Like, that was the twist, is that they were a cake that became a VTuber, and now they're in the shape of an anime character. August thinks they should be called Bruce Bucks, and that is some pretty strong alliteration that I like, but I just don't know. I don't know if I like Bruce Bucks as much as I like Bruce Points. They're both powerful answers, I think. Cake becomes VTuber. It kind of does. I think of Boins because I think of boneless pizza. I want my pizza boneless. I want my Bruce boneless. I don't have bones. I'm a shark, so I have cartilage. Steal the VTuber? Take it. You can take that idea. The only idea no one can take is my stream alternate persona of Scuffy, the wicked parody of Snuffy, where I eat internet cables and I'm an opossum. That's the only idea I will not give away for free. You have to pay me for that one. I'm not even doing like real cleanup. I'm just getting rid of lines I think are ugly. Does Possum go with the image shaking? Yes. Bruce points. Possum scream. also just want to be Mondo Mom. Be Big Mommy. Boneless Beats of Bruce. I think this is good enough. We might try to apply a faint amount of color, but I don't know. What is this layer even? I don't know. I'm just going to delete it. I might regret that in 10 minutes, but we'll find out. Let's add 2 and we'll add a clipping mask. And then we'll swap to my favorite painty brush. Well, this isn't my favorite painting brush. My favorite painting brush is one that I made on my desktop, but I can't just ever seem to get the settings quite right on. It'd be a part of a decent measure of song lyrics. I should probably up the size and not just scribble, but I like to scribble. Bruce Bart. I almost said Bruce Bart. Like the Simpsons character. That doesn't work. Bruce Bert? No. Bruce Bart. The art Bruce. Or maybe it's prettier with it. Hold on. Scribble, scribble, and crank it down. No. Bruce Points, Bruce Art. I just like alliteration a whole heck of a lot. It makes me happy. I like it when words sound funny. Good for my ape brain. The part of my brain that does desire monkey. It's not afraid. I'm just kind of experimenting with this right now. I don't think I will actually keep any of it. Monkey. Every time it add points, actions that never disappear, can't find any counterpoints. No more bee emojis. Not unless we decide to do the bee movie, in which case I will only accept the emojis. I still really want to watch Food Fight. I want to watch Food Fight with other VTubers and be friends. Food Fight, yes. Yes. Nura, you have to watch Food Fight with us. We have to do a Food Fight movie night. Food Fight sucks because a Food Fight is actually a masterpiece. I've never seen a piece of artwork so phenomenal as Food Fight, actually. It's so good that it burns my eyes slightly, because that's the light of God coming through the film and burning my eyes, my sinnerly eyes, with its majesty. No, I don't like this. I don't like it. I'm just gonna keep it as it is. That's true. They say it was, but no one has ever been able to substantiate the claims that the movie was stolen. It's all word of mouth. No one has ever been able to prove the thievery claims. And no one has ever come forward and admitted to stealing Food Fight. yes, if I had the original copy of Food Fight, I would literally never shut up about it. I would not be streaming right now. I would be going on obscure web forums and telling people that I own the original copy of Food Fight. It would be my whole personality. I do think it would be very funny if it turns out that it wasn't stolen and it was just like a student trying to get away with their homework not being there. I have a sickness. What's my sickness? Am I down with this sickness? I mean, imagine stealing it and then not releasing it. Exactly. Exactly. There's so much to be suspicious of. Why would they have stolen it? What was the point? It's not like the studio producing it was a high value studio, or that they were in possession of some like unique license. What do you desire? Yes. My desire to eat things that are not food is also unreal. It is also a disease. I do have a question for chat. Real question, very serious. If you were heat proof, like a Pyrex container, like if you were fireproof, do you think that if you stuck your hands in hot oil, it would feel like putting your fingers in McDonald's Sprite? I think it would. Hello. Hello, Wills. Good. It's okay. Thank you for seeing. Thank you for stopping by. I would love to wear a heat-proof suit and put my fingers in hot oil. How is McDonald's Sprite regular than... It just is. That's the meme. I don't even like Sprite. Thank you. I appreciate you stopping by, even if it was only for a moment. If you don't react with the oil because heat-proof, I don't think. Really? That's actually not a bad point, because you're right. When you're frying something, and if it isn't the proper temperature, it doesn't bubble. It doesn't make the splashes. Oh my god! So would it just feel like water? Oh my god! Damn. I feel like it'd be. You're right. It would probably, because it's thicker than water. It's significantly more viscous than water. Oh man, dang it! Now I'll never be able to know. I could just stick my hands in regular McDonald's Sprite, but I don't want to have to go to McDonald's and buy a Sprite just for that. I'm sorry. I've been thinking about snakes and McDonald's Sprite. Oh, there you go. You just kind of have to hack it. I don't think I like the scales. I'm gonna skip them. I'm gonna undo them. I'm sorry, I've been thinking about snakes. I think those are okay. I always think of the post. I always think of the meme, the Tumblr post. How do you think it would feel if you stuck your dick in a cup of McDonald's Sprite? And the only response is, I would simply drink the whole cup. It's in my brain, and I just think hot oil, when it really bubbles, reminds me of like really fizzy fountain drinks. So I have to know. What are dendrobes? Can you imagine if you're like an X-Men mutant and that's your power? Thank you for the follow, Chalkboard. I appreciate you. Thank you. No, I would. I would. I'm just saying, I don't have the ability to experience that, so I don't know what it's like. No one's ever documented such an experience. Noted. Okay, yeah, it's something I'm not opposed to, but I'm just saying. No, never mind. I won't say it. I won't say anything. I'm keeping my an X-Men power that you're able to stick your finger anyone's breath. I will hold my tongue. I will not say anything else. I'm done. I will not make any more comments on the Sprite debacle. I hear Octavia is cracking the face. No. Do you know why this Sprite tastes so different? I'm relatively finished with this, so maybe that could be put on the list really quick. What do you think of this, by the way? I think this one is strong, but I don't think it's quite as strong as the other one, the Hannah Rio. But just give me 1 second. Let me get a little bit critique, and then we'll flip between both, and then maybe we'll make a quick meme image. Don't tempt me. Don't tell me what not to do. Enjoy the taste. This turned out better than I thought. I'm afraid to tag the wonderful snake person. I'm telling you, not right now. Save it for later. Save it for in private. I really like this one, and I almost hate to say that I prefer this one so much more, but I might get rid of the yellow on this because I don't think I like the yellow as much as I like the rest of the pink. I feel like this one was really, really successful, and I'm really happy with it. I think it's successful, and I'm happy with it because I did not have to figure. If that makes sense. This is the one I'm most happy with. Let me center it a little bit better because I'm picky. I'm so glad I don't really drink soda, so I mean, I would make an exception. I would make an exception for this ordeal. On stream, I would make the exception. Lodo Mac, hello Lodo. I've really been enjoying your streams, and I'm sorry I've just been kind of lurking. I'm enjoying your streams a lot, Lodo. Thank you for coming. I think we're still gonna doodle a little bit after this. We're gonna, maybe we'll draw a Bruce. I'm really happy with this. Okay, I can never catch the line. I know. Lodo makes such wonderful conversation. I enjoy it very, very much. Stop buzzing, baby. Stop buzzing. Okay. Thank you. I love you. This sounds really bizarre, but the image in my brain of someone streaming is like I'm like a really giant person and I'm sitting in the middle and everyone else is really teeny tiny. Like I'm like just big and that's why I make so much noise. If that makes any sense. I don't know where that came from either. Let's draw a boost. I usually do about 35. I like to start with the leggies. No. Yes. Yes. There we go. Magic. No, no. Yes. I'm so glad we can all take a moment to appreciate the good movie man streamer. No. No. What would you like me to try? Because we're kind of goofing at this point. I'm really happy. This stream has turned out to be remarkably positive, considering my terrible, terrible energy today and yesterday. So I'm happy to basically just take little noodle requests right now. We'll consider this a special request. Noodle time. Here's my favorite meatball. Bop, bop. Bop, bop. And try them. Okay. I will take a look. I can't watch this meme right now because it's got audio and I'm afraid. That's a little man. My favorite is actually to draw the pond demon. I call him the pond demon, but it's the pain elemental. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? There you are. Tiny little chunky. Let's give you a big old squish. Now you're teeny tiny. Suffer. Is this midday stream good? Or do you like the streams in the evening? 7 and 11. Okay. Let's try. Let's try to recreate these amazing images. This power. 10:30 p.m. Oh god. I'm so sorry. I'm in the United States like a plebeian. I'm on the East Coast like some kind of idiot. Actually, that's good. I'll take that. Midday stream is good because you can actually catch. Oi. Give myself my little nostrils, my little nares. Oh, and it's got full on ooh. Oi. No, that's too big. Oi. Yeah. There's one. I wouldn't be able to if it was in the evening. I'm thinking about doing a couple midday ones because sometimes my schedule leaves me with like a bunch of time around this time of day during the week. But if it's not popular, I basically won't do it. Perfect time for a stream. I've had incredibly poor luck catching additional work right now. It's just a really bad economy for my profession, which is perhaps a bit ironic, but so I'm having terrible luck catching regular work, and it's not holiday seasons, and normally people would be looking for pet portraiture, so no one is. I'm a bit short. I'm happy to stream during the day because I don't have much else to do. Fun fact, I do the face and the outline first. Okay. Thing is, you can't ask people if it's a good time for them. That's true. I should probably do like a poll on my Twitter. I wish I could just contact every single person I know and then like shake them violently and ask them for their opinion, because I love and appreciate them very much. That's 7. And here's 11. No, that's not a hat. That's an 11. 11. I always do the silhouette, the outline first, and then I add the features. I'm a bizarre person. A person. Oh, I'm gonna draw my favorite pain elemental. Oh, Nura, I heard you were streaming adult art on Picardo, however you say. And I'm very interested. I would love to see one of those because I really like to see how other people do their little process. It fills me with immense joy. You just can't. Well, whenever you do, I'd like to be there so I could see. Oh, he's grumpy. Oh, he's gotta have little hands too. Pain elementals have hands. Pain elementals have handsies. Oh no, I tucked him in too much. Outline first, then not. Oh, sorry, I misread. Stream on Tuesday this week. It was safe. I'd still be interested in seeing it. I really like to see how people do their drawing. I always like to know first if you do bones or if you don't do bones. And by bones, I mean like the little circles and sticks. I just, I adore it. I like seeing people's process. It fills me with, power. Power to steal other people's work. There we go. He's perfect. Pan and Coco. Cool. What's my schedule? Excellent. Excellent. Oh, good. I love coloring. It makes me happy. Oh, hold on. Oh, thank you, Princess Jelly, for the raid. Exactly what you mean. I do that. Thank you for the raid. Hello. Stream good. Hello. Hello. How was your stream? Jelly raid. This is very ethereal music for the content we're creating. Here, let's do a little guy. Let's do someone whom I love and appreciate. Shark music. I can't open my references because there are pictures that are inappropriate for Twitch. So I have to go on my phone. Hold on. You do whatever you want to me. It's okay. Just practice whatever you want in chat as long as it's safe. Twitter. Sometimes I just save people's PNGs because I like looking at them. Oh, they're getting a new model. I want to doodle. Hi. Oi, 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 oi. I assume slaps are fun. I'm so intrigued by the texture of jelly and gelatin. I'm just, like, absolutely fascinated. I must know. Things that wiggle, like, oh, stop doing it. Add a Bruce. What flavor of Bruce you want? What flavor? Small Bruce on nose. You got it. Hold on, let me... but if there were like a human-sized anglerfish, like some kind of apex predator that had like a lure, and the lure on its head was like a jelly cube that it would shake, I would be killed in an instant because I could not resist it. I could not resist the shaky shimmy shimmy. Thank you for coming. Oh! Oops. Put it back, put it back. Thank you. Let's get extra tiny. Extra little. Whoop. Up. Oh, up. Ah, there you go. I will. Don't you dare do this to me, Jelly. Don't come into my chat and do this to me. Is there anything else anyone would like to see as a little doodle, real quick? Not real quick. I still have some time, but you know. Apparently, I have to save the phallic sprite for later. Baby Bruce. Let me open. Oh yes, the little ghost. Draw Bruce, give a kiss. Yes, I will do both. There we go. Power. Frightening. Hold on, let me adjust my headphones. No, it's okay. Now Brucey giving a kiss. Do you want little Brucey or big Brucey? Giving kissy. Baby Brucey or babe Brucey? Either way, let's make a jello cube. Both? I could try to do both. No, what am I doing? Okay. Little Brucey. Little baby, little tiny baby me, perfect being of ultimate power. Let's do that one first, because that one will take me hopefully not long. I'll see you around. Thank you for your patience with me. I appreciate the interaction. It makes me happy. Okay, let's make a jello cube. This is a bad cube, but that's okay. I was never good at design drawing anyway. Oh my god, that scares me to death. Every single time it happens. I'm really worried that my iPad is going to dox me by putting something up that it shouldn't. And I don't know why it would do that, but I'm filled with absolute fear. Pardon me, excuse me. Cube. That's a bad cube. That's a bad cube. I'll just start with a kissy and then we'll go from there. I'm tiny, so I have to stand up on my little feetsies. I have to actually have a layer. Clip likes to do that with my computer. Oh my gosh, good. It's not just me. What if you doodle ordinary sausage? I actually am considering doing art for ordinary sausage and submitting it under Bruce Baby and seeing if that gets me lots of clout. No, I don't quite like that. We'll start over. I'm honestly a little worried at this point because I've taken my favorite way to do little doodles to like the extreme with this account that I will never be able to post art on my regular account again. But that's okay. I will just have a brand. Need to get in real close. The ordinary sausage art will be me as a sausage, of course. And there must be 3 variations in case he reviews a sausage he dislikes very much. And I'll be giving the cubie a kiss. I'll draw a better cube this time. The cube will be blushing because it's Jelly Cube Princess. Bloos. Shark sausage. I um I had a dream once that I went to a family event and someone thought that I liked sharks so much that I would like a can of shark fins, and I became so upset that I never spoke to my to my relatives ever again, and it has haunted me ever since because it's such a real thing that could happen. I am like perpetually haunted by that dream. Every time I think of shark fins, I think, my God, it could really happen, and I could be in serious trouble because if that were to happen, I would literally never speak to the said family member ever again. And now we draw Big Brucey. I'm so sorry. I have to. Every time that happens, I have to vomit that phrase, those words out of my mouth. My fears. I have no control. And a little lean in for a little kissy. Just a little. Would a tiny Bruce on base Bruce's head? Good old pie. Sharks are not afraid to. Oh, I should switch the music. Hold on, I'm gonna switch the music. It's a